And welcome everyone to the second of our doubleheader of our It's Always in Sunny Philadelphia live streams through Jash28.com. So today we have a veritable clash of the titans between Mr. Alex Chavez and Mr. Jeff Traish. How you doing, guys?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. My name is Steve Forrester. I'm the TO for It's Always Sunny in Pannithor, and also you'll see me on Universal Battle, probably creeping in your games as Dice Dad Steve. With me today, we have the voice of Kings of War, Mr. Michael Piercy.
That's good.
We have my last-minute ad / savior, Mr. Keith Conroy.
How's it going, everyone?
And then we have the eye candy of the cast, Mr. Rashad Navidi.
You meant Alex Chaves. What's up?
Oh, no.
So, yeah, this is our third round match. Both Alex and Jeff, as anyone who who knows them or knows competitive Kings of War, are two of the top players in the world. So we will get into their lists. I'm going to pull up Alex's first. All right. Yeah. So, Alex, you want to go through, take us through your list?
Happy to. So, for those that didn't see the last cast, I have 4 hordes of slave wretches who all have the Last Breath upgrade, which, if you don't know, is sort of a mini version of the Crystal Pendant. Sorry. Decimators, I have 3 troops. Pistol half-breeds, I have 3 regiments. All pretty stock standard there. 2 hordes of Nightmare Slaves. And 1 slave driver, who's got the Loot of Insatiable Darkness. And 2 half-breed champions, 1 with the Blade of Slash.
And the special character you're taking is?
It's going to be Frank Reynolds.
Frank
He's
Reynolds.
got the moving in shots.
Yep. All right. All right. So, Jeff, you take us through your list.
Yep. Okay, got a unit of the doppelgangers, put the staying stone on, because I find they waver all the time. A unit of the spectres, so I've got a minute amount of shooting. 5 of the needle fangs for a bit of chaff. 3
Just a
hordes
bit.
of butchers. Just a bit, yeah. The portal of despair. And then we have 2 void lurkers, 1 with the life leech and 1 with the blade of the beast slayer, and then 3 butcher flesh rippers, trickster's wand, blade of slashing, and mace of crushing.
All right. So
And
let's...
I took Charlie.
Charlie Kelly, yep.
Yep.
All right, so let's go over to your room here.
Yep.
And we'll go through your... Yeah, so Alex, you want to take us through your deployment here? Alex is up top.
Definitely, yeah. So I'm top, and I'll do it kind of bottom up. So I have 2 characters in front there. One is Frank Reynolds, a special unique character, and then a half-breed champion with the blade of slashing. Behind them I have just a wall of slaves, so 4 hordes of wretches. And on my left here I have the Abyssal half-breed regiment. I have 2 troops of decimators kind of uptight against the wretches. I have half-breed regiment behind them. And then to the right I have 2 nightmare hordes with the slave driver team them. Decimators on the right. And then a final half-breed regiment on the right with... kind of hard to see, but there's a character in the woods there, another half-breed champion.
All right. Jeff, do you want to take us through your deployment?
Yep. Starting from the left, got one of the butchers, put the the chaff units, the needle fangs are right across the back, as you can see, and one over on the right. Spectres in the woods, and I've got my main heavy hitters, the 3 butchers in the centre, with Charlie in behind, another butcher flesh ripper, the portal, then doppelgangers in the difficult ground with one of the void lurkers, another butcher flesh ripper, needle fangs, and then the last void lurker.
All right, cool. So, just to go over the map, yeah, it's
I don't think we've got any Pathfinder between either of us.
yeah.
I do have Strider on the needle fangs, but
right. So there are two forests. The darker green patches at the bottom and the top are the swamps, which are flat difficult. The river going through the center is flat difficult. And then we've got some height 6 blocking terrain, and then height 3 hills, kind of rounding out what we got here. For those that aren't familiar with the It's Always in Sunny Pannithor tournament, the special characters, the one that Alex is taking is Frank Reynolds, who basically he gets 4 piercing 1 shots that can has kind of like his own boots of levitation, where he can move 8 and still shoot 18. And then Jeff is taking Charlie Kelly, who can either have Dread or Cloak of Death. I realized pretty much after people started reading the pack that, you know, Charlie's pretty redundant, that you would always take Cloak of Death, but yeah, let's say he's still one of the most popular characters taken. So, all right, so we are going to go ahead and kick Alex and Jeff out. They are going to go to their game, roll for first turn. So good luck, gentlemen.
thanks, guys.
All right, guys, have fun.
Good luck.
And we'll see you back when you're done.
Okay.
All right.
It's gonna be an interesting one. I like that the river kind of bisecting the map. I think that's interesting to deal with, especially on Dominate.
Yeah, there's been some a lot of people have either really like the river and think it's they think it adds something, or just, you know, when you don't have any Pathfinder, it can be kind of a pain.
I'm a big fan of, this is Dominate scenario, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of making Dominate a little bit more interesting, and I think this does it sort of, although obviously if you have Pathfinder or Strider, you're in a better position here, but
Right.
I don't mind this because it shakes it up a little bit.
Yeah.
What you normally used to.
Right.
You'd have to wonder if any of these armies are going to march up to the river and then let the other units try to charge them hindered to try to outlast the others. I wouldn't be surprised to see if Jeff went up until the beginning of the river and let the wretches bounce off of him if he has an advantageous unit strength and choose not to attack back.
Right.
Because even without a planar apparition, it could take the entire game for hindered wretches to try to beat butchers, for sure.
All right, so Alex won the roll to go, and he's taking top of 1.
I think that's important for Alex too. With the short range shooting that he has, he can get in a good spot to.
I think that lets the half-breeds too get into an advantageous position to fend off the void lurkers, because Jeffrey's strategy is going to be to try to work that right flank and go around the woods so he can get some rear charges or flanks. And by getting first, Alex can kind of negate that and put those half-breeds into the woods so they can face any void lurkers that try to go ring around the rosy.
Yeah. And there's just, Alex has pushed up the full, pretty much, well, not full 12 inches, but pushed up really hard with the 3 wretch hordes just to be like, okay, here's 9 units strength worth of hordes that you have to deal with, and you can just kind of wait there and have, like Keith said, just kind of play defense, not really have to attack. You can just eventually wear down and just have them be hindered the whole time.
Mm-hmm. I like having those decimators up on the hill too, because any of those needle fangs that come up and don't get a charge this turn, he could try to take out.
Yeah.
Get rid of some of that unit strength in the middle early on.
Yeah, and then the needle fangs have stealthy, but with the decimators hitting on 4s, going from 4s to 5s isn't too big of a challenge.
Yeah, not with the 9/11
cover
one
though too, right? Most likely they'll be shooting through cover.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Depending on which ones,
on
but yeah.
And then also it'll be interesting to see too if Alex, going into turn 2, remembers that these needle fangs can fly. Because that's a pretty big gap he left on those decimators.
Yeah. And while they aren't particularly impressive in the front, like a lot of these swarms, if you get them into a flank, 24 attacks on 5s with Vicious and Strider, you can put in some good work. They won't kill a horde, but they'll get them to the point where they have to start making some tough decisions. Absolutely.
And one should be able to comfortably at least disorder, if not kill one of those decimator troops.
Yeah. I don't know if I like the amount of space that Alex has left between the decimator troops and the wretches. Hopefully it's not enough to let one of those troops of needle fangs hop the lines.
But that is one of the tricky things about the Rack and Slaves list, though, just the fact that all the Rack and elements are so much faster than the dwarf elements.
So as it stands now, we can see the needle fangs are speed 7, and at least this turn, there won't be any. Jeff won't be able to fly them behind really anything.
Yeah, it'll take a little while still.
Steve, which Void Lurker is that all the way to the right? Is that the Beast Slayer?
No, that's Life Leech guy. The one in the center is Beast Slayer.
Okay. Yeah, look for that one all the way on the right to take 2 or 3 turns to, go all the way around the woods, but unless a half-breed sticks around in the back.
Right.
Which I would imagine, hopefully, Alex would do. Look for that to be a pretty deciding factor. Late game.
Those half-breed champions are going to be so critical to keeping those Void Lurkers in check.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It was interesting, both of them brought up that there was not a lot of Pathfinder in either of these. And I'm sort of jealous because in my game, I played Herd, so I saw this. I'm like, yes, finally get a map that has a ton of terrain. And then my opponent brought Salamanders that had the Pathfinder aura and Strider and Pathfinder, and I don't think it came into play once.
Yeah.
Oh, well. He had a great list for this scenario and a lot more unit strength than I did.
Usually the army with more shooting would benefit a lot from that river in the center too, but it's counterbalanced by the stealthy in this one. Just both armies are going to have just a lot of trouble killing each other.
Yeah, that was my thinking too. But there's just going to be a lot of. We're probably not going to see first blood until turn 4 or 5, unless it's needle fangs.
Which I think definitely benefits Alex. He's up 5. It's tough to say because he's up 5 unit strength to start the game, but also Jeff has so much more compact unit strength for getting in that zone late.
Right. I mean, the butchers are unit strength 3 and have a very, like you said, a very, very compact unit strength 3 with the large infantry horde.
Mm-hmm. So shot on to the what are those? The specters in the woods there?
Yeah. Yeah, they're the specters. Which, it goes to, I think, the testament of just how strong of a player Jeff is, that he's playing with specters and Needle Fangs in a Night Stalker list.
Well, I hope to see them work because I have a couple of these Needle Fangs and I just put them together and
Yeah, Needle Fangs are
actually they're great sculpts.
They're
Mantic
great
ones are
models.
awesome. They look great.
Yeah.
Now show me how to use them on the tabletop so I can figure it out too.
Yeah. I've found in my limited time with Night Stalkers is I think Needle Fangs are good, but I just think Phantoms are better.
Phantom Troops are great.
Yeah, Phantom Troops are an extra, I think 15 points are just better.
Yeah. Dash 12, fly.
Yeah, fly in nimble
Mm.
with the speed 10. So
12 attacks on 4s.
Yeah. We've moved to Jeff's turn 1. So Alex is kind of throwing down the gambit. We're like, okay, here's 12 almost worth of unit strength of wretches. So if you're Jeff, how are you responding?
I think you just have to play patiently. He doesn't have he doesn't have a lot of great ways to open this up other than with positioning, and you just got to kind of trust that your stealthy will hold. I think really Charlie Kelly is going to be really, really critical. Cloak of Death, if he can get that up there and start doing some work in this back half of the game, that could be really important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, with
Death is an amazing rule.
Yeah, with my games, I take Charlie, and I just have like a wall of rabble, and have him just kind of running back and forth, spreading Cloak of Death until the rabble are gone, and then come in with trolls and just mop whatever else is up.
Yeah, Charlie work should be he should be strong against rats.
Mm-hmm. I think with the advantage that he has with the stealthy against the shooting of Alex, I think you do exactly like he's doing now and try to push like that left flank. The Needle Fangs and the Flesh Ripper are going to go hard left. The Void Lurker will hopefully pivot and go all the way to the right if he can cross that river. And be patient. Like, you have stealthy, so you don't necessarily need to rush fully into the middle. But make Alex make some choices, turn 3 and turn 4, about all of these units that are coming into his flanks, how many he's comfortable getting flank charges on. It looks like he's going to do that on the right. We'll see on the left what he does with those. And whether he uses the Butcher Flesh Rippers as chaff, or if the Needle Fangs go full speed ahead.
Yeah. We were talking off air about the Butcher Flesh Rippers. It's not a unit you see a lot, but they are, for the points cost and what you're getting, they're a solid choice.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, compared to the probably the closest is the Depth Horror Eternal, which is arguably one of the top 3 units in the game. But the Butcher Flesh Ripper, you get dash 14 nerve, 5 attacks. But for 110 points, so already you're getting a fearless unit that in the flank, has crushing 2 and stealthy with nimble and mind thirst.
And hits on 3s.
Yes, that's the other big deal. Also hits on 3s. Which you would forget thinking that the Butchers hit on 4s, but 5 attacks on 3s in the flank. That can knock out a regiment.
Oh yeah.
It's not quite as hotly contested of a slot as it is in other armies when you don't have to worry about purchasing inspiring.
Right.
That's a good point. It's the Dread Fiend.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some really good options, but it's not as contested as Ogres.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dread Fiend and some extent the Shade. But depending on what type of army you're playing, the horror with the, I mean, not in Jeff's army in particular, because he doesn't take he's taking really one unit of infantry that's combat oriented, but the horror with the
Vicious Aura
Lightning Bolt and Conjurer Staff. Yeah, that's a great build. The when I played against Shannon Shoemaker last round of Call to Arms, we did random fun armies, so I brought all infantry Imperial Dwarves, and then he shows up with the Night Stalkers Windblast list. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. It was still a tie at the end, but so many times he's like, all right, Windblast you back 8 inches. I'm like, that's my full movement. Like,
that's a whole turn of movement.
I invested a lot in that.
Yeah.
It was a great game. We ended up fighting to a draw, but I just looked at him like, oh man, of all lists, and he was like, yes, speed 4 dwarfs, and I brought Wind Blast. Wind Blast 30. All right, so it looks like the Flesh Ripper fanned out a little bit to the left. I'll have to ask him afterwards in this turn why he chose to kind of stay central with his army instead of going extreme on the left, so making this Ratkin horde have to branch out a little bit more. Let's stop behind that.
Sorry, go ahead.
No worries.
So the Portal Despair is putting its inspiring thing on the Central Butchers. So Jeff put some pot shots from the Spectres on one of the
Wretches Hordes.
Wretches Hordes.
Good for him. 10 shots. He hit 3 on 6s. Did 2 wounds.
Yeah, that should be at the, because he didn't move those, right? So I think he's maybe shooting at Frank.
Okay.
To recover an individual, we'll put him at 6s, right? I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. Oh, yep, he did move the token up. Okay. Frank on a hill. Yep, there it is.
And it's worth noting that one of the bonus points is to kill your opponent's special character. So putting wounds on Frank is, if you take him off, it gets you an extra point.
Mm.
You get bonus points for killing living legends and more characters than your opponent too, as far as I remember, right?
Yep. So it's killing more individuals, killing more living legends, killing more monsters, and then killing your opponent's special character.
I like that recently we've had a lot of talk about how to score tournaments. It's been I like how Blackjack has not established itself as the main system to play, but just sort of like an inspiration for us to try new things rather than the old just regular 15-5 and regular attrition and things like that. So it makes it interesting.
It does.
I really didn't have too much of a goal with the scoring. I did a combination of what the scoring was with a call to arms, and then with the bonus points, I did something similar to what the Keystone GT in Pennsylvania did with just having bonus points for killing more of a certain unit than your opponent. So yeah, it's a learning experience. I'm having a good time running the whole thing, and
we appreciate you running it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and realizing that outside of the United States, not really anybody knows or has watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So it's a lot of it's kind of been lost on the majority of the field, but people are having fun nonetheless.
I had a lot of fun rewatching my favorite episodes to give my units custom names. So I appreciated that kind of homework.
Yeah.
We took a break from watching Buffy, and we're like, all right, we got to watch them Always Sunny because I have to give custom names to my herd army. Not that it helped them, but it was fun for that part. It looks like Alex is moving up and is parking just in or outside of the river to give some hinder charges. Looking forward to the grind and the last breath.
Yep.
Worth noting, all 4 of these hordes have the last breath special rules, so there's going to be some hurting chaff and some hurting units after this.
Yeah, and even if Jeff, I think would have to, even if he double charges, it's not necessarily a guarantee taking a unit off. And if you double charge, then you got 2 units taking last breath instead of 1. I
think it's worth noting that in the top left of Alex's board edge, there's half-breeds that aren't currently on the hill. So if he does push that left flank, or if that butcher decides to go a couple inches to the left and then reform to the right, they don't have a ton of line of sight.
Right.
So I don't know if that was intentional or not that he didn't put his center point over that hill, but we'll have to see if that comes into play. Rashad, what are you drinking, by the way?
I'm drinking. Have you had the Trader Joe's Health Aid Kombucha?
No, but that sounds very non-alcoholic.
It's non-alcoholic.
It's actually it's kombucha. It is mildly alcoholic.
Oh, that sounds very healthy.
It's really good. It's sort of like a brew with no alcohol. It's really nice, actually. It makes me. It doesn't substitute beer perfectly, but it's good if you don't want to drink.
Yeah, kombucha. It's like fermented tea.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like live cultures and stuff in it. It's
good
it's
for
an
you.
acquired taste.
It's better. Most people don't like it, but this one's pomegranate taste, and I love pomegranate taste, and I mix it up with a little bit of water, so it's not too strong of a taste.
Mm-hmm.
I've been drinking too much over the pandemic. I've been like literally every day I'd pop open 1 or 2 beers, sometimes 2, 3 beers, and I got to be careful with that right now. It's becoming like an everyday habit.
True.
Yeah, when you don't have to go anywhere.
I love drinking, but I get depressed like 3 days into it.
Amen. All right. What do we think his shooting targets are going to be with these nightmares in the back? Is he going to go for the flesh ripper and hope to spike a roll, or try to take down those butchers in the middle?
I mean, he doesn't. Jeff doesn't have any healing. He didn't bring up a planar apparition for heal 7. So, I mean, anything you could just be like, all right, let's start chipping damage away and putting some wounds, maybe put some wounds on the butchers. I mean, you're hitting on the nightmares are hitting on 6s because of stealth and cover, but you know, you can
take those shots though.
It takes those shots. I mean, it's 36 shots.
There's no healing right on the Night Stalker list.
Yeah, just some regen on the Void Lurkers. That's it.
Yeah, like he said, he left. Jeff didn't bring a planar apparition.
Probably one of the best monsters in the game, though. Planar apparition.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can't wait for Mantic to make a model for that.
Yeah, I think my top 3 for monsters would be planar apparition, and the Knucker and Trident Realms, and then the Goblin Wing It.
That's a great list. Yeah. And if you want to include character large infantry, Flesh Ripper, Depth Horror Eternal, and maybe the Night Terror would be in the top 5.
Yeah.
There's no Hydra in there? What about the Hydra?
Lots of Trident Realms.
What happened to that?
Oh, that's awesome.
I put a Hydra in a list the other day and I played it, and it was actually really fun, and it's so cheap for what it does.
Yeah, it's like 160 points.
I think it's 150.
Yeah. It's a Titan, so it's a 75 mil base, but you get a lot of bang for your buck for 150 points coming from a monster. It's got a lot of competition in that Forces of Nature list.
Oh yeah, because you look at that and you're like, I could bring another unicorn with with boomstick and heal,
or I can bring another Beast of Nature.
Yes.
It's interesting. I play against mostly nice nature players that play maybe 1, maybe 2 duplicates or so. But if you wanted to build something really competitive with nature, I think the potential is there right now. People just don't play that army very much, but it's really, really good. It's very versatile.
Why play them? Just play Order of the Green Lady. It's all the best parts of Forces of Nature with knights.
with
actual
really
hammers.
Nice. Yeah, I like it. It's a really cool mix, actually. Also thematically, like every time I see it, I'm like, yeah, those are going to be, once we see them at the tabletop, they're going to be a great army. I miss playing on the tabletop so much. I haven't had a game in, I want to say 7 months right now.
Yeah, I've played one in-person game in 2020, and that was when I had off for Martin Luther King, and I got a game against Mike Saddlemeyer. But other than that, everything has been Universal Battle.
We did 3 or 4 locally. It was with Kevin Spear and Greg Person, and I think I won 1 game out of them. But I had such a blast. We played in Greg's garage and Kevin's basement and my kitchen, and like it was so wonderful to have that little just couple games before we all went back to school and back to work with
Right.
COVID. But I didn't even care I didn't know what was going on in the tabletop or care if we won or lost. It was just nice to talk to people and roll dice and remember why it's so hard to get a sports score in the Northeast, because they're just wonderful people to play.
You have to be careful on UB too, though, because I feel like on UB, if you're not nice on UB, it comes through way quicker than actually on the tabletop. Like you can have a fit or a moment at the tabletop where you're rolling badly or something happens that you didn't want to happen and you're upset for a second, and I think opponents are forgiving. But yeah, when you play UB, it comes through really weird if you're only on voice.
Yeah. Or you could just, be doing chat or just mute yourself real quick while you throw your hissy fit and then come back. You're like, I had to, my sound went down for a bit. Sorry. And then
Looks like we started the shooting phase, and Frank has just done a wound to the Flesh Ripper, and he's going to start doing some chip damage to one of the hordes of butchers that's approaching in the middle.
Yep. So anyway, I started blasting.
Great episode.
That is a good episode.
Have you guys noticed how much slower the new Facebook is in comparison to the old one? Like, I just tried pulling up something and it takes. Literally, my browser is telling me the web page is slowing down everything.
I have not seen that.
Maybe I just have a crappy computer. I need to change my computer.
I find that whenever I run Universal Battle and I have it in the background, everything slows down and my computer starts racing.
Streaming also slows it down quite a bit.
Super hot for.
3 wounds going through from the one troop. That's really nice.
That's really nice.
Yeah, it's like 3 turns worth of work there.
Yeah, the 3 damage is really big onto that one horde of butchers, because if they go into the wretches and don't break them, if the wretches get a combat and a last breath, as long they're in that range of, all of a sudden you may need 1 or 2 wounds to take them off the table, which would be really big to trade a horde of wretches for a horde of butchers.
Yeah, and Alex put another 3 damage in the center unit too. So
wow.
Yeah, Jeff is in a rough spot here. He has no choice but to just engage into the wall of wretches now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's a good turn for Alex. So we're moving to.
It'll be interesting to see if Alex's hordes survive. How is he going to fit them all into that 12-inch radius? You have to be entire. I haven't played Dominant in a minute. You have to be entirely within it, right? It can't be majority.
It's majority.
A majority.
It's majority. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then you can easily do it.
Yeah,
I think that Alex would be very surprised if his hordes of wretches survive.
Yeah.
We all would.
I think he's kind of got the outer one on the wrong side, but I don't think he's in any rush. I think he maybe just sidesteps for a while to try to center them up if Jeff hangs back and doesn't engage for another turn.
Yeah, you can just sidestep the whole. Have this entire line do the electric slide and go to the left, or the right. Well, their left, our right.
What do we think he's going to do with the flanks? I'm very curious. Those void lurkers, are they going to? I mean, obviously there's a trap for them with the half breeds. Is the one on the right going to try to go around the woods, or is he going to go into the woods and force charges? What do you guys think?
I was literally going to ask what you guys were going to think about the void lurkers. So
I think.
Let's see. Well, that way I ask first. I don't have to give an answer because I have no idea.
Our guy with the life lead, I'd be cagey with him and just see. I mean, you have 20 would put you kind of right here, which would still be. Yeah, I would be cagey with him just so you can hopefully get around to get some either flanks or rears, and then
landing in the woods, he can only go 10. He couldn't fly 20 into the woods without Pathfinder. So he'd either be able to go 10 or have to go around the woods.
I'm not sure if Alex did this intentionally as a trap or if it was an oversight, but the more central void lurker can charge the slave driver that's hanging out in the middle there.
He sure can.
that puts him in potential overrun into the Nightmares range, but then of course the Nightmares and then that one regiment of half-breeds can charge the Void Lurker after that.
Yeah.
It would be a throwaway, but I also think that individual right now, the Void Lurker is facing the flank of that individual, so I don't know if he could actually land there.
Yeah,
no, he could definitely, because the individual would have to pivot to him, right? So all he would have to do is be able to contact the corner.
I agree with you, but I still don't think he can fit in there.
Let's see. So he's got
that looks less than 75.
Just a hair under 3 inches at about the front facing. It's tough to say. It would be a really strange angle.
Yeah.
Having the corner and facing forward almost.
He might be able to just fit, but you're right. It would be really close.
But if he did fit and on that facing, then the overrun turns into the flank of the other Nightmares, and then that would be great for Jeff if that's how it ended up.
You're saying he would be facing upward then, right?
Yeah, because you have to come in on the only wide side, basically just facing the other end of the table.
Right. Interestingly, that play with the Void Lurker of flying over into the forest, I was just debating it in my head. The thing is, if he was going to land in the forest, he was going to give a charge to the half-breeds. Granted, they don't have Strider or anything or Pathfinder, so it wouldn't be a very good charge. Flying over would have actually been nice. I would have liked it because he could have jumped in the flank. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to have a great charge, but then he's more threatening the center. It would have been a nice tactical play. But I think them being in the forest means that the half-breeds and the half-breed champions will be hitting on... They hit on 4s normally, right?
They hit champion on 3s normally.
Yeah.
They hit on 3s.
It's the grotesques that hit on 4s.
Yeah, grotesques hit on 4s. So half-breeds hit on 3s. So...
half-breeds are so good. They're still really good.
Yeah. I always do. Granted, it's not good form to compare units between armies, but you compare half-breeds to like
regular cav, right?
Or just like Orc Gore Riders. They're 10 more points than Orc Gore Riders, and they're one less defense, but they are 1 more nerve and have regen 5 and vicious for 10 points.
And despite all of the talk about, I remember early on, there was going to be less crushing strength, but I don't know, maybe it's just the list I play, but there's plenty of crushing strength out there. You can still get access to it. Feels very similar.
That and like if I compare these guys to regular knights, the great destroyer of Snakes, Jeremy Duval and I, we talk about this a lot. Because he runs the knights and the Basileans. And knights, when they lose their Thunderous, they're really not going to do much, right? And the half-breeds having that built-in crush and also vicious.
Yeah.
And regen, they don't... You can't just plink them off the table like you would with lights. Knights, you can't lightning bolt them 2 nights in a row and then have them wavered and then kill them. So it looks like in the middle, so Jeff has gone for it. He's got the doppelgangers and the butchers in onto the rightmost, and then in the middle a flesh ripper and another horde of butchers. Makes sense because I think another round of shooting, just like Alex had, you're starting to get into the, okay, now we're possibly in the kill zone.
Right.
This will be very interesting to see. Now, Last Breath is every unit that is in melee takes the damage?
I believe so.
Yeah, everything that's engaged with it. I'm really liking that Void Lurker position and the one that's in the woods. That's really a problem for Alex to deal with.
Yeah, it's screened really nicely.
So Last Breath is a... Sorry. I was going to say Last Breath is like a crystal pendant of Retribution, but a light version of it, right?
Right.
The nice thing is you can have it on multiple units, and all the wretches have it, yeah?
Yeah, it's just the wretch. I don't know if any, I think the Spear Warrior or like regular for warriors might have it, but yeah, it says all units engaged suffer 2d3 hits at piercing 2. That's interesting.
Yeah. Apparently we've had a temporal shift and the background's changed, but keep on keeping on. Yeah. The other butchers are also going in. And I can see with, if Jeff is able to clear a couple of these hordes, though, it is worth noting that for Alex, he has Rally 1 with the slave driver. So that brings the slave wretches to a 19-22.
Right.
That's really good for a unit that costs 115 points. Oh my god. Wow. And then if he gets to attack back, it's 25 attacks on 5s. Could do a couple of wounds in there. Yeah. How are those nightmares in combat, though? Do they have the same stats? They hit on 4s or hit on 5s?
They hit on 4s.
Fresh 1 and Vicious.
Fresh 1 and Vicious, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, their nightmares are really good.
They're really good. Remind me a lot of the enslaved Guardian Archers. I was watching Keith Randall's game in the last Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he went up against 3 hordes of those enslaved Guardian Archers, and man, those things do work. That was oof.
Especially if you do the whole shenanigans where you could shoot with them and then surge them into something.
And you have Drain Life, too, to even the odds a little bit. Which they did. They had the Monolith and the Soul Snare and Shobek, because if you play Empire of Dust, take all the legends.
Yeah, but that's that's like if you go into Universal. Okay. I'm gonna try to reload my view of the game so we can.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was actually doing that on the YouTube stream. I'm looking at it and I'm not seeing the things changed, but maybe it's just a little too far behind still.
Oh, speaking of Steve, any comments or questions from the YouTube stream that we can answer? And answer poorly?
Yeah, we've got Nick Zyder said if the Hydra was a monster instead of a Titan, I might take him more often. Which
that's a good point.
Yeah.
I also don't know if it needs to be on a 75 mil actually with the stats that it has. Don't know if that's a necessity.
Yeah, I think it just fits the model choices that a lot of people use. I know my friend runs a Hydra, local player in Connecticut, and he runs the old Scorn from War Machines, that giant gargantuan model. So,
right,
doesn't do much, but it's huge.
Hydra,
yeah, it's a great modeling opportunity.
And that's the thing. With nature, you can do this monster mash. I'm running a tree herder, an greater earth elemental, a beast of nature, and I'm thinking about adding a Hydra just for modeling purposes. So you have all those beautiful pieces on the tabletop.
Yeah,
true.
I think for Forces of Nature it's there. I think from a modeling standpoint, there's just so much stuff you can do with it. And I have a herd army from 2nd edition that I've slowly added to, which can now be Forces of Nature or Order of the Green Lady or Herd.
Hey now.
Yeah.
It's no better army than Herd. Stick with it. Why would you need another one?
Well, looks up. Well, Frank went down.
First Blood.
Yeah, First Blood was
First Blood. And a free tournament point. Go Jeff. Yeah. So he's going to get a minimum of 6 points no matter what.
Yeah.
Frank's dead. Good for him. I don't think I've killed a single one of my enemy's characters. I'm always running out of units by that point in the game where I can start taking them out.
The only time I did it my first round match against the other Steve, it's what Stephen Devonish, and I did he also had Charlie. I charged the trolls and then overran and
that was a tough roll for Jeff. Out of 18 attacks, he got 5 hits. 5 wounds. Yeah.
It's not too bad though.
To start.
I mean, that's the one where you want 10 1s, 2s, and 3s when you're hindered anyways.
Right.
It's all gonna come back. Now when it's 4s, he'll get 12 and do 11 wounds.
Yep.
All right, up in the middle. 2 wounds from the Flesh Ripper. Brings him up to 3.
So what do we think about cluster F in the center? Everything that
It's a
can
cluster
sort
F.
of charges charging here.
I think
I
it's
think it
still. I think it's still great for Alex. I mean, he's going to get
I
plenty
wonder-
charge to be able to.
I wonder how those decimated troops are going to play out lately. When you take decimated troops, but 3 of them is going to give you quite a bit of shooting late game different sources, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they're 8 shot. I mean, you usually see them in hordes, but the 8 shots at a troop is really, with 3 of them, it's a lot of firepower.
Yeah, and I really like how Alex has done his lines that
And it's
after
one
the
of those things
wretches,
that
it's
if,
not that
no
he's
matter what
attacking
you
a half
send
breed.
in order to go after it, even the Pharaoh, you can only deal with 1 at a, per turn. I mean, how many flying individuals do you have to deal with something like that?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And his second line isn't the abyssal half breeds; it's the shooters. So he has nightmares and troops that are going to be taking shots. So it'll take another turn to clear these. Then they're going to get shot again. Then they're going to get shot again. And then if he kills them, he's going to get charged by half breeds off a hill. That's a pretty good setup.
Yep. So we're going to Alex's turn 3.
Let's just take a moment of silence to reflect that we're on turn 3 and we've been on the stream for about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I should have gotten more beer. I got to drink faster. Damn. I thought at least by this point we'd be halfway through turn 1, but
yeah, or just through a movement phase of turn 1.
Yeah, the movement.
This is an interesting pivot of that decimator troop because I don't know that he is remembering that these needlefangs can fly. The ones on the edge there are threatening everything on the hill right now.
That's a good point. Yeah, he's giving up his flank. And if I have those needlefangs, I'm going to take that charge every time.
Yeah, so then, and
the ones behind the furthest left ones, there in the river.
Yeah, and they're also Strider, and so it doesn't really matter.
He may have just been doing that to see what he can get, where he can get those half breeds. Though we may see those decimators swing back to face front.
Right.
Yeah, if he can shift over enough to make room for them, sure.
Yeah.
And they're back.
He just wanted to see if the half breeds could get on that flesh ripper.
That's the difference between their game and the rest of ours, because I would have left that flank wide open.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not on the clock and even though I have no reason to do so. I would have just moved on and forgotten.
I don't have the delusion of grandeur to think I'm will ever be good at this game, but there's usually 1 or 2 moves that are just really, really stupid that I make that prevent me from kind of being better. But, like I said, I don't have delusions of grandeur. I just there. Yeah. And this was my kind of thought with Alex, is not even bothering doing the counter charges at this point. If you can just disengage and the next, you still have a round of shooting, and then you either back up or sidestep after you disengage, and then make him hinder charging again.
Yeah, I think that Michael brought up a good point with these needlefangs, because along with the one on the left, there's needlefangs on the hill. So the slave driver, any flanks that you leave open, characters chaffing, that 14-inch range, he has a lot of targets that he can choose.
Yeah, you can go after the slave driver, which I think is a good spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it forces those nightmares to decide whether they're going to try to shoot the needlefangs, which is iffy. And then if they don't kill them, then they get to act as chaff for that next round too, which already makes up their points.
He is taking the counter charges on all those rushes into the bushes and everything. Which I like that play. I think with 3 on him already, plus last breath, plus hopefully a couple more from the combats, puts you in good cleanup position in the following turn, most likely.
I like too how he's keeping those half breeds back Although I wonder if the 2 Void Lurkers go into those half breeds and they clear it in 1 round. Okay, so he is backing up. Steve, is that 20 inches out from the centermost Void Lurker? Or can they still charge? The half breeds that he just backed up 4 inches. Is that 20 inches?
Yeah, looks like just the one can get on him.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's just
good.
this one here.
That's a very smart play because I think if it's just 1, I wouldn't put it in, but 2 Void Lurkers could clear those half breeds.
Oh,
And then next thing you know, you have some unwelcome company in your backfield, which, yep, it's not exactly what these other half breeds want to see. You know, with Crushing 2 and Thunder 1, Blade of the Beast Slayer is a very interesting choice on the Void Lurker. I guess if you're expecting to go against Greater Earth Elementals a lot, it's handy, but, you know, most things, if you get the charge off, you're already hitting on 3s and wounding on 2s. So I'd be curious to ask him afterwards how often it's come up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're in a grind with like another dragon type character.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He should bring that build to Dragonfall because that'll happen.
Yeah.
I still think though that you know, even in that circumstance, I would rather have the Strider boots or maybe the Wild Charge Aura or something like that.
Sure. Or even Dwarven Ale. All the times that it ends up hindered being a 17-19 that, you know, and yeah, you're right though, any of those 15, 20 point army items for them. But Jeffrey Traish wins a ton of games, so he's figured it out. I don't know. Yeah. He knows something I don't. Oh man.
It's like me armchair quarterbacking watching football.
Yeah. Why did he do that? And then they go score it. Oh, well, that's why. Okay. Yeah. Never mind. That's why I don't play. That's why I'm sitting here at home.
Or while I'm watching Top Chef. Top Chef eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and commenting about how they should better manage their time.
Right. I burned eggs this morning, but let me tell you what you're doing wrong when you're making your crane fraiche.
Yeah, you've got 90 seconds left, and you're starting a reduction now. What are you trying to do?
What are you doing? What is this? As I'm, eating white cheddar puffs that I didn't pay. Yep, nothing that I cooked. So it looks like in the middle he's moving that slave driver flush, which is very smart. So we did see that the charge from the Needle Fangs was eminent. Now, will he let his nightmares get charged? And is that something that Jeff Traish wants to do?
I mean, best case scenario, you're doing a couple wounds there, and then they're just going to countercharge and probably take them off. So it's I don't know.
I think shooting he goes for the doppelgangers. They are 14-16 defense 4, right?
Yeah. Or they may be 15-17.
Okay. Because that's something that on the countercharge they could do a lot of damage to half breeds.
Yeah, they're 15-17.
Okay. 15-17.
One
of the only things, too, in Jeff's army that wavers is the Needle Fangs and well, if they're wavered, they're dead anyway, but the Butchers and the Flesh Rippers are all fearless. So that might be a good target for him. The other one's just regen, so they're not worth shooting.
Right.
Portal of Despair might be an option, though. How big is that guy? So no cover, at least. She'll be hitting it on 5s instead of 6s. And getting rid of the dread, which is kind of...
Yeah, because that's the other thing. Is that it's giving dread to at least, well, let me see.
At least
it's giving dread to the 2 center, the 2 right hordes. So pretty much they're at stock because the dread is counteracting the rally from the driver.
And then you add on top of that the Cloak of Death, which is just bleeding a point every turn.
Right.
So if he wants to buy at least another turn out of them, dropping the portal might be the best bet. I don't think his shooting's going to pick up the doppelgangers most likely. So I think the portal's probably the better target.
Oh, I may be reading this wrong, but does the Portal of Despair have stealthy? It says dread and visions from the void. It may not have stealthy.
Yeah, I don't think it's
That would
stealthy.
be interesting.
I wonder if that's something if they remember. I just assume everything in Night Stalkers has stealthy, but that one, at least in the list that he sent, does not.
I thought they had updated it to give everything stealthy.
Okay, that would make sense. I don't know if it's updated.
No, I mean, that was just my assumption. I'm not seeing it here, so it doesn't look like it does.
Yeah. Just had a brain fart.
Interesting.
The Easy Army is up to date, so yeah.
Let me check my actual book. I don't think so though. I think it's probably accurate.
Still worth it for 90 points, but if it doesn't have stealthy and then you can hit it on 4s with vicious, yeah, that's the one. That's your target right there.
Yeah,
for sure.
No vicious for the nightmares though. The vicious they only get that in melee. I think I want to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Melee and or vicious and melee.
Definitely worth it. All right, 10 shots into butchers.
Looks like it's butchers.
Okay. Did 3 4 wounds? Wow, those troops are.
Yeah, they're putting in work, man.
They're doing great. He may. Okay, so he is not choosing to go for the Portal of Despair. He's looking to take out those centermost butchers.
Oh, so those wretches must have countercharged the Flesh Ripper, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense. I thought that all of the butchers were engaged.
Okay, and on 6s, no wounds from them. So these troops of Decimators are doing the heavy lifting compared to the Nightmares, apparently. Here goes another troop into the Doppelgangers?
Yeah, it's like Doppelgangers.
Okay. Hoping for a lucky waiver. But no hits between cover and stealthy. Yeah, add that one down, Steve, if they... why he didn't go for the portal that was on the hill that didn't have Bane Chan is something to ask.
Yeah.
I bet he wishes that was a break check right now. Jeez.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but he's got one of the half-breed champions into
the flank of Needle Fangs, yeah.
And the other one too. Both of the half-breed champions went into Needle Fangs. So it's pretty good. 6 damage with on the butchers here.
Oh, that's really good. 6 damage with Bane Chan. There's the 11.
11. Yeah. It's one up from getting them, but they were inspired with the inspired and Mind Thirst.
Still 6 is great on the one that was uninjured. That's I mean they're effectively down to a -12 now.
Yeah. We put 4 wounds on the Flesh Ripper. That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Guy's probably not going anywhere though. He's what, a -14, right?
Yeah. It's a rerollable 10. It's close.
Yeah, with the defense 5 next to the Depth Horror Eternal, they're the hardest large infantry characters to take off. Maybe the Centurion Worm Rider, but the having that fearless, nimble, you'll have to see if he goes for any of those withdraw, nimble shenanigans and puts that Flesh Ripper into the half breeds up top if he can get the angle.
Right. The another one we hadn't talked about is that's up there is the Berserker Bully and Ogres.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great unit.
Yeah, because I always forget they have Wild Charge, and then they have like 7 attacks with hitting on 3s with Crushing 2 and Brutal.
Yep.
It's there
and nimble.
and nimble, yeah.
So they can get into some great flanks and take out entire units.
Yeah.
I played Matt Young, the round 1 of Call to Arms, and he, between the siege breakers and the bullies and all the nimble characters, I was just trying Night Stalkers, and that was rough. A lot of mistakes and a lot of whiskey was drank that night.
Yeah, there's my mistakes again. I always like, okay, they're 13 inches away, they're fine, and I'll roll wild charge. Okay. And I should know at this point that I always remember that they're give them at least 15 inches, or they're just going to be just.
I don't like wild charge as a rule at all. I think it turned movement into like I got you, because it's so easy to forget about, and you could just say, okay, the charge range is 15, done. I like the random aspect of rolling a dice for it, but
so Alex did just get a waiver. He wavered the. Okay, so he did waiver the needle fangs all the way to the right, which unfortunately are the ones that are screening a flying and a nimble unit, so it doesn't matter too much, but it's important to note. Bottom of 3. All right, so we have two Void Lurkers. Where are the Void Lurkers going to go? Are they going to try to... Is he going to charge in with one against the half-breeds and then put the other one in a aggressive position? I think this right flank is going to start falling for Alex. And
yeah.
This would be the reason that Jeff took all these fast flanking units. I'd be very surprised if he held them back this round.
Yeah, I think...
How's the clock looking right now?
Or were they playing on a clock?
I didn't know are they or are they not?
It would explain why we're at the bottom of 3.
Yeah.
They're fast. They're playing fast.
Yeah, they're doing great. Any questions from the YouTube channel? Any comments?
Not yet.
I'm drinking a double IPA called Wandering into the Fog from a local Connecticut brewery. They do a series where they isolate like one hop. So this is Sabro hops. It's really good. Kind of a hard beer to get, and I'm drinking it out of if you guys remember, a WKOW radio Kings of War radio pint glass that Tim Smith gave to me after a round 2 game of Herd versus Herd at Masters in Texas.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a great game. That game came down to shamans doing a wound and killing a stampede that already had a couple wounds on it. Where they had 2 attacks and Thunder won, so both of them are irrelevant. There's no shamans anymore and there's no stampedes, but that's 2nd edition right there. That was a great game.
I love those moves. The last turn, I'm throwing my caster, hitting on the 5 against you in the hope that it's gonna work, and then it's gonna work. Awesome. All those shamans hit better than they hit on 4s, I think, with Thunderers, right?
They did back then. Yeah, they had 2 attacks, Thunder 1 on 4, so you could do a wound. And sometimes they did. They could ground a flyer in a pinch.
Godspeakers and used to do that too. They used to hit on 4s and had 2 attacks with crushing 1.
Definitely.
All right.
So your Hail Mary
support pieces. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I was curious if he was going to go for this. This is risky.
Yeah.
That's very risky, and one of them is hindered, right?
Yep.
Ooh, okay. So in the middle, for those watching, he did put both Void Lurkers into the Nightmares, the rightmost Nightmares. Can you see, Steve, does he have, with the half-breeds, does he have arc on any of those?
The top half-breeds has arc on the right one, and that looks to be it. Can
he fit? Is there a little bit of a lip in there that he could fit for a flank?
Yeah, at the top, yeah.
Oof.
So that's one of the really nice things about those extra lines parallel to the facings that were added for UV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see you've got, right there.
Super
So
useful.
that double charge, he's got 10 on 3s and 10 on 4s,
Yep.
both crush 2, so he's wounding on 3s. Very interesting. Even if he
One
wasn't
of
hindered, that's a questionable charge. Even
One
if
of
he
them
wasn't
has
hindered.
Thunder one.
Yeah,
So
one
that-
of them's going to be winning on 2s. The one of them left.
One of
will be
them's on
winning
2s, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be
still-
3s and 2s, and then 4s and 3s.
Mhm.
That's
They're still
that's
a,
still
what are they, at 15, 17 right now?
yeah, they're 15, 17.
Normally 14,
with,
16?
yeah,
Do they
with
have the slave?
driver there?
Oh, the slave driver does give a rally to them.
Yeah, it's just general rally, it looks, so everybody gets
Okay.
the benefit.
Well,
He left them into 6 inches.
That's one of those, if it works out, it's amazing. If it doesn't work out, it's like, wah, wah, wah.
Yeah,
Did he
they're
put-
both in 6 inches. But he's got those needle fangs in there. They're locking it all up otherwise, so
Yep.
that's good. But those half breeds coming into the flank is going to be a problem.
yeah, because that's even though it's hindered, it's 32 attacks, 4s and 3s.
So you don't want to say things like the game comes down to this, but if I were to say the game comes down to this, Jeff Traish needs to clear out these retch wards this turn.
Yeah.
Any of them that survive and let Alex get counter charges and clear out these needle fangs, and he doesn't get the charge on them, that's a problem. So this is a big moment for him to see if he can clear out these wretches, because it was very smart of him to use the needle fangs to lock down a lot of that shooting. Because between last breath and if there's another round of combat, some of those butchers are going to be dead by the end.
We definitely want to check to see if he actually remembered that they fly, based on his positions and everything.
Sure.
The half breed that's in the water though doesn't look like. Well, I don't know. This flesh reaper might go attack it, but even so, at least the half breed that's in the water will be able to go get on like a butcher horde or something if one of those is sitting on 9 or 10 wounds after the explosion.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a good way to remember them. It's not just the shooting attacks, but these half breeds are just living missiles, right? You put them into something, they're, I don't want to say guaranteed to wound, but pretty close to it.
Yeah.
And they're resilient. They don't go anywhere. They have a fairly high nerve.
Yeah, they're 14, 16 for the regiment.
Mm-hmm. And the champions too.
Oh yeah, the champions I think they're either they're defense 5, I think, and
Mhm.
either
Yeah.
11, 13,
Just 5, 12, 14
12,
Oh,
14,
12,
yeah,
14 is wonderful.
in region. Yeah.
Every time I play against Keith Randall and the Unicorns, I'm like, defense 5, 12, 14. It's a lot harder to kill than you would think
yeah.
for the amount that you have to put into it.
And I always forget that unicorn, because in second unicorns were defense 4. And I
Mhm.
always forget that they're 5, and I'm like, they're a lot. These guys are really difficult to kill.
They're really difficult to kill. If you don't kill them, they're flying away, and then they're thunderbolting you.
Right.
So our lightning bolt.
And score.
And
Or
score,
heal
yeah.
defense 6
Score.
Earth Elementals.
Yeah, that
Oh.
too.
You're breaking my heart, Rashad. It's true.
That's why Ryan Munsell, right? Currently, I had to play with this list the other day as a ringer,
Mhm.
and because he had a drop, and he's running 2, one with the what's the blunderbuss item? Sorry, not blunderbuss. What is it called?
Boomstick.
The boomstick, yeah. So he's running one with the boomstick for lightning bolt 8, still keeping heal on it, and the second one has the conjurer staff also with heal and lightning bolt 5.
So
So
good.
between the two, to me, it's a little bit too much, too many points in those units. But then he scores with them usually.
Yep.
So it's very effective.
Yeah, it's
I
a great
personally-
loadout.
I don't like two unicorns in an army for some reason. It's just, I feel like what we talked about earlier in nature, you have this possibility, this opportunity to have so many different models.
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to have two unicorns on a tabletop.
I really like taking not just water elementals, but greater water elementals and forces of nature.
Mhm.
How do you
That's
play
true.
them? You use them as surgical units, or do you
Yeah,
just
pretty much.
hold up a flank?
Yeah, well, they typically they're because usually the hordes, one has Via Madness and one has Brew Haste, so they get some, and then they're usually being followed around by a druid on a horse.
That's nice.
Interesting. He did put the butchers, instead of trying to go in and kill the horde of wretches on the rightmost side, he put a horde of butchers into the flank. So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, he knows a lot more about this game than I do, and I'm just a half-drunk herd player. But they're gonna kill the guys in the middle. But then you have 2 units, because one disengaged. They're going to be taking a lot of wounds, and I don't know if he's going to have a lot of reform opportunities after that.
Right.
And the rightmost ones with the doppelgangers are also going to survive, most likely.
Yeah,
It's very interesting.
I think those 6 wounds ones, though, it's just that they're the sacrificial butchers, because then he opens the door on the line, and the butchers that would be coming through it are the least injured.
Yeah, and the Needle Fangs have done a really good job of chaffing everything up, so he doesn't have any fear of retribution the next round.
The Nightmares both get, currently they get rally and individual from the slave driver, right?
Sorry?
Yeah, they're
the ones
both
attacked
big.
by the Woodlooter.
The Nightmares
Yeah,
are
they're
benefiting from the rally.
Because they have the keyword slave.
Okay. So another hindered charge into the wretches. That will be, I don't know. That's going to be dicey. Trying to kill that rightmost. So the left one is going to be on double ones, you would think. The right one, I don't know. Left flank will hold.
I mean, they're in 11-14 right now. So, I mean, just the 10 coming into the side, you're looking at probably about 4 or 5. I think he's got them. I think that's enough to get them. I don't know. The doppelgangers are hitting on 6s?
Yeah.
Yeah, did they go in last turn, or is this them? Or is this their first round?
Yeah, they were in last round.
They were in, but they didn't end up fighting last round, so they're going to be hindered again.
Okay, so 25 on 6s.
Yeah, 6s.
And then...
We hit a couple. I mean, that still should be like 3 damage. You get 4 from the flank and 3 from that front. You're looking at a 6 to break twice. Pretty good chance of killing him.
7, 14. Yeah, the So what did we say? The slaves right now are
They are normal nerve because of the dread and the rally. So they're at 18-21.
Yeah, 18-21.
So effectively an 11-14 with the damage that's on them.
So Jeff is moving to his shooting phase and put some shots, and looks like into the leftmost horde.
Oh, he didn't charge them. Interesting.
This is it, folks. This is the moment you've been waiting for. It's a very important combat round for Jeff Traish.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I just want to give a shout out to both players for positioning, because had this been my game and one of our games, I would have had the units completely out of position. But the fact that Alex had his half-breeds in such a way that even when they did back up, they're still in charge range, they're still covering, that he thought multiple turns in advance, is really a credit to him as a player. And same with Jeff, that none of these units are blocked up on purpose and no one's chaffing accidentally. Everything has been placed really well. And I think this is a great game to learn from, about how to put your units in such a way that they can always contribute without getting in each other's way.
Yeah, and that's definitely a nuance that's lost on me at this point.
Yeah, that's why I play so much Nimble, just because I know I make those mistakes, so I need to have an outlet.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I have trolls that are just doing nothing.
Just trolling.
Yeah, they're trolling there in the back and doing nothing. So
two wounds from the specters to the leftmost unit. All right, here we go. Here's some important combats, starting with the Needle Fangs.
These guys might not even disorder these decimators. That'd be 6s and 4s.
Yeah, I've got one. Well, they have Strider. So
Yeah, so
Oh, they do
5.
have Shredder. Okay.
Right,
But still,
Strider.
without any crush, yeah, no disorder.
Ooh, that's it. There's no disorder. That's big.
This is an important one.
For all the marbles.
Oh man, they're starting off with the two most exciting combats. They gotta.
Oh no.
Oh,
Ugly.
There's
Four
that
hits.
was
That was the hindered one, though.
yeah, that's the
Oh
hindered
no.
one.
Okay, so 2 wounds with the hindered one. This next one's got to do some heavy lifting.
Yeah, so this guy has to swing for the fences.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. That's a
That's a
pretty
good start. That's
Good,
a
yeah.
start.
And this one's
8
on
hits.
2s.
Oh,
Oof.
Ooh. Those are the kind of rolls where you have to look and be like, did I leave it on D3?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
did I leave it on a
Yeah,
accidental
so
ice
it's
amount?
5, so total of 7.
Yeah, he'll be looking for 10 twice. They don't
That's not
have
gonna
like.
help.
But that was the thing on those. I mean, he should have probably gotten it to a 5 on average, right? I hear Page Neo talking, but only 60 to 70% of the time that's going to happen. And so it's true. He's right about it. So a very probable outcome there was going to be waiver.
He did waver, it looked like.
It was just a very probable outcome.
Yeah, but that's totally fine for Alex.
Alex is okay.
What I'm saying is it's terrible.
He's
for
easy
Jeff.
on the eyes, Mike Austin. That's true.
Yeah, he is.
He is. He's okay. Mm-hmm.
No, Mike Austin's pretty easy on the eyes, too.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to see at least one flank charge on the Void Lurkers, and then...
What is Mike Austin up to? I've not seen that guy in forever.
I think being a parent of a newborn or a fairly young child.
I can attest to that. It is
Me too.
quite the adventure.
And you guys only have 1. I have 3.
Oh, man. Touche. 1 is great. We still outnumber the kids for now.
Yeah. My girls know how to divide and conquer, and then my son is just a fat ball of
7
happy
hits from the
baby.
doppelgangers.
All right, so Doppelganger. Okay, they did some decent wounds. 6 wounds?
Yeah.
Okay. 6
Actually,
wounds.
7 because their defense 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so where does that leave him?
They're gone.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's it.
So
Wow. Nice roll. A 10 and then a 9 off of, what did he need? 6s
breath
twice?
now.
7s twice?
Yeah.
Okay. So less than good rolls from Jeff when it came to the Void Lurkers, but a pretty big roll.
4 explode or the 4 hits for the last breath.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll need 3s on that on the flesh ripper because this one's actually only piercing 2.
Yeah. So 2 on 2 on the flesh ripper and 1 in the doppelgangers. Doppelgangers take 4.
Okay. That's a pretty good outcome, for 2d3.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, roll nice and low in the last breath.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me
There-
reminds me of what's in ex-girlfriend when what Skaven slaves used to break, they would just explode instead of running away.
Is there anything that can shut down the Void Lurker that's furthermost to the center right now next turn? There's nothing that can charge it, right?
No. Oh, is there a
Yeah,
half-breed champion?
Maybe the half-breed champion?
Yeah, the half-breed champion here.
Right, so you can lock that down.
Both of them can. They
No,
can
actually, no. Both of them can reach, but the one in the woods is on the flank and can't get into the flank, so it would just be
go. Right.
the one for the
It's
river.
just the one from the river.
Okay. So
And so this is
And the slave driver, I guess. He hits on a 4, right?
I think so. He's got vicious, too.
slave driver hits on the 4, yeah.
slave driver's no joke.
No joke.
Back in
Of
that
course.
whip.
Too bad he can't use the loot on himself.
Yeah.
Attack! Imagine like a caster. The one turn he charges, he may use.
Battle mage.
Yeah, it looks like. Okay. So pretty interesting turn. Both sides got some. I wouldn't say it was a ton of luck to kill the wretches in the lower right, but it definitely needed some luck because we all know when you need those 5 rerollables, you never get it. So it was good to see Jeff get that. But wavering and not killing the nightmares at top is pretty big.
Yeah.
And they don't have a lot of wounds on them either, so they may survive a charge from just one.
So we've got another last breath coming.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
the
is
ones
a
in the
big
middle
one.
are gone, as expected.
This is a pretty important last breath roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one troop of decimators in the middle that are not engaged.
Oh,
So,
wow.
whoa,
30.
that is a low roll. Yikes. Bet Alex wishes he had that one back because he needs a couple wounds on those butchers.
Jeff rolled his own poison.
Yeah.
Worked out for him. So those butchers take 2.
Hmm.
And the Flesh Ripper is good.
Yeah, no wounds. 3 2s. Yikes. Okay, so the center's been busted open. I'll have to see if Alex is shooting and Alex's chargers can start taking a couple of these butcher hordes off. Thunder from down under. Nicely done.
Yeah, but one part of the problem though is now, or as far as for Jeff anyways, Alex can clear off a good bit of that chaff now. And then he'll get charged by the butchers when these 2 second lines hit, but they'll be coming over the river still.
Yep. And they already have wounds.
Yeah, they're already pretty beat up.
So I think that was really important that Alex did, and again a lesson in placement that instead of like we would do, we'd put our cavalry on the front lines because why not? He held them back to the 3rd line, so that when everything is dead, half dead and has a bunch of wounds, now he has 3 8 16-inch charged cavalry hordes that are all fresh that can take out a bunch of these scoring units.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're playing a completely different game than you and I would play, Rashad.
Yeah, and the wretches, it's sort of interesting. He's playing a similar game to me in the sense that he has his hammers, he has, and the hammers are not too expensive. If he loses one, 200 points is not that problematic. But what I like about it is that all of his chaff and its 4 hordes are only 130 points, and they all take you down when they go down because it's hard to shoot him down. You have to attack him if you want to get to the juicy part of his army. Really, you can't let that unit strength stick around. It's a really good army in that sense.
Yeah.
So the right 2 wretch hordes are dead. The left 2 have held, and now he's doing the attacks with the needle fangs, and both of them. Oh, he did waver a troop. Okay, nicely done. 1 troop is wavered, but then it looks like the rest are not looking so good.
One thing that's also surprising to me is that normally 2 Void Lurkers are great together, but Alex only has really 1 dragon defense, and that's the guy with the Beast Slayer, because the other one is cool. He can shut down a dragon, but is not necessarily amazing at it or like at outgrinding it because the regen kicks in with those as well. Right. But I think it would have been nice for Jeff to like put 1 Void Lurker on a flank each, because that would have put, and maybe be a little bit more patient, that probably would have made Alex be a little bit more be on a back foot on another flank and not able to just rush forward that way the way he did. Because he did rush everything forward turn 1. I think how many inches? 12 inches he went forward, right? Almost. Right. So he had no choice but to attack.
I like that this philosophy of Jeff Traish's building, and listening a while ago to an old countercharge episode of Inside the List Builder Studio, he had just this mentality of like bring a bunch of scoring units, don't take a lot of items. So looking at this, looking at this game right now, like while Alex has a lot of hammers left, there are a ton of scoring units and unit strength still left on the table. And those Butcher Flesh Rippers, they're not necessarily going to die to a charge from these half-breeds. So I think that it's really important to, like when we were making lists, it's really tempting, right, to dump in a lot of points into these individuals. But then when you get into games like this, you're like, wow, I really wish I had a scoring unit. In Jeff's case, like, yeah, he's got a ton of scoring units.
Right.
Because he builds his lists to take that into account.
And
back in 5th edition 40K, playing Orcs, it was
you know it's going to be a
toys.
good story where 5th edition 40K.
5th edition 40K playing Orcs. Like, I could take a Burna, but I'd rather take 2 more boys instead. So boys before toys.
Boys before toys. I like
one thing about Alex's list that I like a lot too is that it's anti-meta in the sense that the best defense against the slave wretches would be regiment shooting or horde shooting. That's sort of like non-existent in the game that much right now. I wish it was a little bit more existent, because war machines can't really take out a horde in one turn. But if you had a couple of Ed Herzig is running that right now. I don't know if you guys have seen his list. It was my first opponent in
right. He's taking
in this
2
tournament.
He's taking
and
2
the 2 hordes
of elf archers.
They were super effective against me, and I only have defense 5 in the whole army. So I don't know, or up. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen when he plays against defense 4/3, because it's super effective still.
It is.
Yeah, I've been playing around with bringing spitters back, because I have the models for them and I've been painting them, and I was like, okay, well, why it's still 160 points for a horde of spitters that are just as effective as elf archers, to the chagrin of many elf players. But yeah.
The dragon is one of the units in the elves, also in the Basileans, that's like 300 plus points, where I see people want to use them to be efficient at the points cost, but it's very difficult to bring in the value where there's other flyers running around at 250 that do something very similar.
Right.
Ooh, so what's going on over here?
Looks like he's trying. Maybe Alex is trying to get to Charlie.
Yeah, you don't have much to worry about. That Portal of Despair only has 3 attacks, so.
Yeah, or if he's in Charlie's front, so he gets there, he can, an overrun of a 2 or 2+ is getting into the rear of these butchers.
Oh, I like that charge a lot.
Yeah,
because with a lucky roll, taking off Charlie and
I mean Charlie's defense 4, and so he's going to be winning in 1/2s, and he's only a 10-12 nerve.
Yeah. And then those butchers, if he shoots them previously and does even another wound or 2 and puts them up to 9, does 2 or 3 wounds, they're at 12. Yeah, you can roll 6 twice. That would be a game changer. That's pretty big for him.
It looks like Alex is going all in to take off the life leech void lurker. He's put the other half-breed champ into him as well.
Yeah, hinder charge in there though.
I think that's smart, because even with
you have to hedge your
36
bets.
attacks on 4s, you gotta remove units.
Is that which one is that? Does that one have the blade of slashing or no?
This one I think is the naked one. That blade of slashing is the one down in the river still.
Yeah, I like putting that blade of slashing one into Charlie, because even if he doesn't kill Charlie, after the next turn, he has a pretty good view of, he could try to take out those specters that are putting unit strength in the middle, or take out those last unit of needle fangs.
Right.
A lot of options.
So over here we've got the other half-breed regiment flanking the needle fangs.
This is a great game. Oh man. Yeah. Both of them are very clearly still in it, and it seems like every turn from here on out, it's going to be some really important dice rolls. Those Needle Fangs are no longer wavered on the right too, so
Yeah.
if he doesn't send anything at them to try to take them out all of a sudden, okay, so that would explain. That's why he put that half-breed in, because if he doesn't kill that Void Lurker, he's going to get flanked by Needle Fangs, 24 attacks on 5s, and 4s with Vicious. Do Needle Fangs have Vicious?
I think so.
Most swarms do? Okay. They hit on 5s, they have Strider, possibly Vicious.
No, they don't have Vicious. They're
No, they don't have Vicious.
Fly, Mind Thirst, Nimble, Stealthy, Strider.
Okay. Good to know. See, that's a part that I really like from 3rd edition. I really like the addition of the swarms as a new unit. I think that they fill a cool role, like chaff, but also not any chaff that you want to leave in your flank, because they do have potential to spike with the sheer volume of attacks that they can get. So I think that they were a really interesting addition to 3rd edition.
Right. So yeah, Alex did put the half-breed into Charlie.
That's a cool Charlie model.
It is a cool Charlie model.
Oh, that's a really good Charlie model.
Yeah, the half-breed is good too.
My favorite Charlie model that I've seen is Kyle
Preslinski.
Yeah, Preslinski. He has like little squares with lines going in between them, and it has Carol on the bottom from the Carol from HR meme one.
Yeah, I had to come up with a list when I was watching, like, what were my favorite episodes? And it wasn't even top 3 or top 5. I had to come up with, like, top 10. So,
yeah.
Poor wife, I made her sit down. I'm like, we're watching this one, like the janitor who mops twice. We're going to watch the Thunder Gun, all of those episodes.
Right.
We're going to watch, like, it was a great day. At least for me. I don't know. She might not have liked it, but.
Yeah.
You know, I was the last one to watch Game of Thrones. I think I started watching in the 4th season or something like that. And I still haven't seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And everybody tells me it's like my type humor and whatnot. And I have not seen a single episode.
It's good.
But I like, especially with like comedies, I don't necessarily like story arcs through seasons. I'd rather just have stupid comedy that's contained in one episode, and that's what it is. That's how Seinfeld is.
Ooh,
Seinfeld is
rough
Seinfeld.
rolls from Alex just now. Bunch of ones to wound. Okay. Yikes. But yeah, Rashad, think of the lowbrow but still well thought out humor.
Right.
And then you have Always Sunny.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Like the jokes are crude, but the writing is not.
Yeah, and the commentary, it's kind of like South Park, where it's, you know, they have smart commentary just hid behind.
That's nice.
Sociopaths, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a snippet of like him, Danny DeVito, wearing a wig, walking into an art gallery and talking about art, and that one was pretty funny.
Yeah.
They're also good. So 10 attacks. He's doing the Decimator combats first. And did a couple wounds and wavered. Yeah, he rolled a 7, so that should be a waiver on the... Or he killed them. Okay, so he killed them.
Yeah, because they were 9/11.
They already had. Okay.
Yeah, they had 3 of them. So this is against the Void Lurker.
That's a good roll, considering he's injured.
That's a very good roll.
2s, 4.
Wow. Those half-breeds are still some of the best characters that you can get. 6 attacks already puts them in a pretty competitive range, and then they have a low price point.
Vicious is so good on them, and Legion as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because on an individual, you need that wound to sometimes stick, and that's my problem with the Rev King. People are going to hate me for saying this. Like the mounted Rev King in the Undead, he's great at surge casting, but like sometimes I've had so many games where I run him into something and he needs to do that one wound, especially if he's hindered. Now it's like 3 attacks on 4s with crush 1.
Right.
Like,
16 damage through. That'll
Yeah.
do.
Yep, that gets him.
That gets him.
And now the other one by himself, even if you wanted to like try to finish off the nightmares, that's not even a sure thing with only the 6 damage on them.
It's not.
Yeah. 10 attacks. It's so iffy.
Yeah.
You know, you flub one, you only do 6, and then 5 wounds. You're at I don't know.
It's a likely
wonder-
waiver again.
It is, and then they're dead.
Right.
So does Alex reform? Does he back up? What is he gonna do? Back up to get a better angle?
Yeah, I think good.
I almost wonder if he should have run the decimators for it so he could sidestep with the half-breeds. I think that would put him in a pretty good position.
Jeff could have also chosen to not charge with the Void Lurker and only with the half-breed champion go backwards or like sit him somewhere else, the Void Lurker, because he could chaff things up with the troop that he has sitting right now, and also with the half-breed champion himself.
Oh, Alex does have a problem next round though, because that Void Lurker is staring down the flank of the half-breeds on the hill, and there's nothing. Yeah, we're all past the point of stopping that. So I think that's just one that Alex missed.
Oh, they're gonna get a flank. Good eye. Yeah.
I could see what Mike Austin's saying there in the commentary, that this list of Alex's is deceptively good.
Yeah, dude.
It is. You look at it, you're like, oh, troops of decimators, bunch of wretches, but you see it on the tabletop, you're like, oh, there's no flanks.
Yeah.
I can't shoot through all that, and then when I do, I'm going to get shot. When I get through that shooting, I'm going to get charged.
Have to get charged by
Yikes.
half-breeds.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's painful. That's not something you want to hear.
Two of my favorite episodes, It's Always Sunny, are both involve Frank. One of it's the when Frank goes, I forget what it's. What would we do?
Not sure what happened there, but it looks like the other nightmares took out the needle fangs that were looking at them.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah.
And everyone know who's played Earth Elementals or anything. Any large infantry that hits on 4s, you know, killing anything is never a guarantee, because you're like, all right, I should kill this, and then you roll 7 hits and 5 wounds, and you're like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, but Earth Elementals right now are so good. With the Brutal, I didn't even know they had that the other day. I was playing with them, rolled my attacks, and Jeremy was like, hey man, you forgot about Brutal. I'm like, what?
No.
What a guy.
The half-breeds that flanked the needle fangs that were on the left flank, snake eyes on them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Experiencing technical difficulties. Hold on.
This is where we can't see the board, and we just start. This is the most amazing Kings of War I've ever seen.
Oh, you guys are missing so much.
It's a once in a lifetime.
Yeah. This is where I pay Michael Piercy to start reading pages out of Goodnight Moon, and I can record it. So that instead of me having to read stories to my daughter, I can just play that recording. Goodnight room. Goodnight bowl of mush. I'd have to say, so our favorite one's definitely the Thunder Gun episode. The Bird Law, the Trial one, Trial of the Century.
That one's
all
really
of
good,
the Charlie McDennis games.
I
Electric Boogaloo.
I love Frank's Pretty Woman.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like the one where Mac and Mac and Charlie become rich socialites, and then they torpedo their relationships. Oh, it's so good. Everything's good. The one that they try to leave the state in the back of a U-Haul and they can't.
Yeah, they want to get to the Grand Canyon.
They never do.
The Jersey Shore is a good one too.
Yeah,
that's probably my favorite.
Probably am.
Finally meets the waitress and things go well, and then the flowers for Charlie.
That's a good one.
They're all good. The writing, and that's what separates. It's kind of like Seinfeld in the sense that like the writing is just really creative and really good. They draw on a lot of things, but they do it in a very crude lens, though. No matter what your interest level is, whether it's crude, raunchy humor or you want something that has, writing and references, it's got both. So, like South Park used to be.
Yeah.
So there goes that that flank onto the half breeds, and now with that snake eyes into the needle fangs, this flesh ripper has a flank on the half breeds there too.
Yeah, that's not looking so good for the half breeds. That's going to be a pretty pivotal moment. And I think that's one of the strengths of Jeff's list is that by having so many units and so many scoring units, that eventually through the sheer amount of combats that you force upon your opponent, you're going to get some rolls that are just through the volume of attacks and break checks. You're going to get some that go your way, whether double ones or threes or fours, that you should have killed your opponent, but now you don't. And with these nimble characters, you better believe that they're going to be there to take advantage.
It's just that charge mathematically is probably very similar to that charge she had earlier into the front of those, what were they called? Flesh rippers? No,
Into the nightmares?
Nightmares, that's what it was.
Yeah, it's not a high percentage, but it's kind of just a gift. The flesh
Yeah,
ripper wasn't really doing much else, and it's not like losing him after that is a big deal.
Hey, Steve, can you see, are the wretches on the left, can they charge? Are they in the charge range of the specters?
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
they are, but I kind of want those needle fangs that are sitting in the woods to go flank those wretches. Let's see what happens. The flank. I mean, you never know. That would be a pretty spectacular waiver if they could pull that off.
And they might. I mean,
They're
you're
already
at
on
24 attacks on 5s. You could spike a roll. And it's not like they have a ton of defense either.
Yeah,
I mean, they'd be on 5s and 2s, yeah, because the wretches are 2s. So you're looking at what, 7 damage probably.
Right. If you spike it to a 10, yeah, you're in waiver territory. Even a 7 or 8 would kill it. Like that would be pretty game changing.
Yeah. This is a potentially pretty lucrative turn for Jeff here.
Yeah.
This is, and don't forget that the needle fangs on the right that are blending into the woods.
Yeah.
They're gonna have their say too. Probably go into the troop or what else can they see? I don't think the half breed. They'll find a good target.
They can reach the half breed. No, they can't. 12. No, they can only reach the half breed champ and the.
Yeah, they can't reach the half breeds.
Steve, could you add to the list of questions to ask at the end? So top of or bottom of 3, did Alex miss the flank with the Void Lurker, or was that something that he thought that, or just I guess he must have missed it.
There was nothing in position to shut that guy down.
Right, or would that half breed have been enough to shut him down? And maybe he thought that and missed it.
The half breed does have vicious, right? I mean, we were talking about that.
Yeah, so the half breed went in.
It would have been hindered, right?
Kill.
No, he went into the other one though. He went into
the other one to put it to make sure the other one died.
Right, but what was his choice between killing that one or hindering to save the flank of the other if that occurred to him?
Yeah,
because even doing 1 wound would have saved them.
Yeah, that's kind of my only thought, is that he probably maybe didn't see the Charlie charge right away and was initially thinking, I'll send both half breeds, put them on the ground, and then be okay. And then, last minute took the thing that was supposed to ground that guy and said, "Oh wait, I can do something else with this guy," and just forgot.
That's true. That'll be really interesting to see what he'd have decided at that point.
Yeah, but at the moment, Jeff has engaged on pretty much everything. Got a dual charge on these nightmares. I'm assuming the Flesh Ripper, maybe the doppelgangers will go into those injured nightmares. Yeah,
and he has. So currently, it looks like 5 unit strength in the middle. Pretty uncontested. So it's only top 4, so plenty of time, but it's going to take a little bit for Alex to clear out the middle and then try to redeploy some of that stuff back. That one horde of wretches all the way up to the left. If he moves those butchers and takes that flank, I would go into the specters, because then you're facing the rear. You can move up and be a scoring unit that threatens the rear as well.
Right.
I don't think they'll ever get that opportunity ever again to be that relevant. I I bet Alex is really wishing in the middle, especially he had gotten some higher last breath rolls.
Right.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, but so far it hasn't mattered. Alex went that whole turn without shooting any of that stuff or having the opportunity to take nerve checks on it.
Yeah, it'll definitely come into play late game if the half-breeds, if it comes down to like, okay, my half-breed needs to kill this scoring unit, and 1 or 2 more damage would have pushed it over the edge.
I also wonder if the half-breeds that are currently in that little bit of a, what is that actually? I mean, that's height 0.
It's flat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a flat. So those, I don't know if they're too close to the unit in front of them in terms of being able to maneuver next turn. Although you can always move that unit, but if that unit is charged, it might not have very many places to go. So, yeah, they could be stuck next turn.
It's interesting. I think it looks like he's just doing like some positioning with the Flesh Ripper.
They might just be getting them out of the way. Yeah, he's sending
It's making space. There you go.
Yeah, he couldn't charge them in together. Okay. So it'll be what, 18 on 5s, crush 1.
Because if they're wavered next turn, that half-breed regiment is not doing much except maybe you could get into the front there with 1 pivot.
Charlie probably doesn't have the speed to... Oh, he does. He's got 12 inches to get to where he can hit most things. Especially after they disengage.
Yeah, I think it's moments like this and times in the game, right, when you're in turns 4, 5, and 6, that these large infantry characters, the Butcher Flesh Rippers, right, really come to shine and start making their points back, because, you know, you've committed your combat units, but then all of a sudden you're giving up a lot of flanks that were unintentional, and these nimble characters could find a way in after the grind. And I think that they're in a really good place in the meta right now, and possibly something that's underused.
Yeah,
and Jeff is gonna show us how good they are.
Yeah, 40 mil and 50 mil square heroes and monsters that have nimble are just seem like the MVPs at 3rd edition so far.
Maybe people in the chat can put it up. What are the top 3 large infantry heroes right now? I mean, Depth Horror Eternal is definitely up there. It's 1 or 2. What are the best ones?
Knocker doesn't count, right?
What's the question?
No, that's a monster. Large infantry heroes. I think most factions got at least one. Got at least one large infantry hero, Butcher Flesh Ripper, or a.
Would you put a Pegasus in there, large cav?
Sure.
Or just large infantry?
Lord on Frostfang, another one.
Yeah, Lord on Frostfangs are money.
They're wonderful. And Varinger gets them too, because Varinger gets
they have nimble, yeah?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they
Strider.
do.
Speed 7?
Yeah, with wild charge 1.
200 something point, 210, yeah? They're very good.
Yeah, Dwarf Lord on Beast is 200, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
So large infantry or large cav?
Sure. Yeah, any of these like non-monster nimble heroes, I think they have a really great place in the meta. And Jeff is giving us a clinic on how to use them, both as chaff and to get flanks. And
I think if we're including living legends, then for large infantry you have to put Mother Kryza in there from the Ratkin.
Yeah.
Oh, good call.
Incredible.
Yeah. You know, if you look at this game right now and tilt it sideways, this looks like, 7-year-old Keith trying to play Tetris for the first time. Jamming up the level and everything dying, because the amount of flanks that everybody has looks like a really poorly put together puzzle.
Ogres do that really, really well with the large infantry characters.
Yeah. That used to be their secret.
Yeah.
And now, I know Jesse was always talking about, like, end of the game, you get all these flanks on things because people aren't expecting it, and then you can dash to
Yeah,
the
there's-
four wins to score different units.
Yeah, there's been plenty of times in second edition where I've had ogre flag guys get a flank of something and take him out.
Yep, and then they're a scoring unit. And now,
I mean, dash 14 on the Flesh Ripper is awesome.
Yeah,
Defense
the
5,
Berserker
dash 14 hitting
bullies.
on these.
Berserker bullies are the same thing. You're dash 14.
I would say that's one of the top 3 is Berserker bullies.
Yeah,
The Fearless, too.
Taking the flank on
yeah, the fearless 14.
Any
And
of
if I
these Fearless
come-
guys, if you don't kill them, then they're going to get a cork. There's a potential for a corkscrew charge.
Interestingly, they're about the same stat line and damage output as a Rev Cav at the same points cost. Very interesting. Just on a
Very.
smaller base and nimble.
Wow.
Right.
Also, Rev Cav is a whole different conversation for how good they are.
For sure.
So it looks like Jeff is rolling some the Spectres. Not too much there in terms of wounds.
He didn't take the Flesh Ripper flank on the half-breeds.
Yeah, he chose to go in to try to kill those wretches, probably to protect the Spectres. The half-breed is still alive. Now he's going to the combat up to the top right with the Needle Fangs into the Decimator Troop. So needing 5s, 4 hits. And 3 wounds. Okay, pretty good. That's waiver territory right there.
Is that a waiver?
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
10,
a
12.
waiver.
Good. Okay. Yeah, and by launching that second Void Lurker out, those half-breeds aren't in a particularly good spot. They may not even be scoring at the moment. They're kind of not facing anything.
Yeah, it's really surprising to me. So that's going to be a really good question because I wonder if he actually saw that flank in there, or if he thought it was going to be a front, and that's
Right.
why he didn't charge it. I really want to know because it might have not been the best thing to do, making sure that the other one dies. I don't know.
Yeah, and grounding it with the half-breed champion would have been
I mean,
Really?
and Alex did it up with the half-breeds and the flank. I mean, granted, he rolled really well, but did enough with the half-breeds and the flank to take off that Void Lurker by itself.
Was it enough? Yeah, I wasn't paying attention at the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He did like 13 damage to it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
That's, what is the Void Lurker? 17?
17, 19. So
Well,
with
that's
it's iffy, but
that's a 6 twice.
He would have done enough to waiver, and then, I mean, he's facing the same direction now, so it would have been
Even
the
if it
same.
wasn't wavered, like it wasn't going to take off the half-breeds or anything in one turn, that Void Lurker by
No.
itself. So
That's true. Good point. All right, so it looks like we got a couple damage, 36 attacks. So the 2 butchers into the nightmares.
takes him off.
Takes them off. Okay, that's very big. So
Yeah,
both or
they
the
were-
butchers are alive.
Yeah, I think.
And Alex, the slave driver, was out of inspiring range.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
The double waiver over there on the right effectively takes out those half breeds next turn too. So this is looking really bad for Alex in the center of the board.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah, with both those waivers, you're right. It opens up the right flank, which is essentially the middle, and there's not a lot that
so he
Alex can do.
so he wavered the Slave Nightmares.
yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
He wavered one and took the other one off.
So the half-breed regiment is going to do nothing but charge the unit with 4 wounds on it. Holy shit.
Well, if he withdraws and backs up, Steve, would that give him room to flank the doppelgangers? Do something there? Would he be able to pivot to his right and then still contact that corner? Or go straight?
Maybe.
I think he's pretty stuck there.
Yeah.
That's tough. He almost wishes that those decimators had died so he could have maneuver them.
Well, he can go backwards with that unit. But
yeah, I'm thinking
about
maybe
all
he
can do.
Right, and with that,
the leader point of the half-breeds is in the front of that unit. They're not in the flank.
Right, all he has to do is contact the corner, though.
Yeah. He could do one pivot and then go in.
That's going to be interesting to see. And maybe that Void Lurker repositioning is there to block him, because now he can't withdraw at all. Wow,
yeah, he can
they're playing an entirely different game than we are.
Yeah.
Thinking of things like that.
Yep.
Now he's essentially boxed him in, so even if Alex wanted to, he couldn't back up.
Yeah, so
The
that half-breed
Butcher.
regiment is pretty stuck.
It is. He'll probably back up with them.
Yeah.
That's the thing with cav units when you play them in your third line, because they have such range. You actually don't need to have them like an inch or 2 inches behind the unit that you're using the chaff. They can be 4 or 5 inches behind. The problem is, if you're fighting Void Lurkers, they can jump the line, right? They see you and they can jump into the front.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He had no choice really there.
He had to be close to the hill too. He had to make sure that he actually could see to counterpunch with them.
So the Flesh Ripper takes out one of the troops of Decimators, and then the other one gets wavered by the Needle Fangs.
Yeah, and that takes out the other half-breed regiment now. They just have no room to get anywhere around the wavered unit in front of them.
Looks like another 7 Newton damage. So those wretches are dead.
Let's see what the Wicked with Last Breath. Wow.
Oh, another low. I feel really bad for whoever's playing Alex next round because those last breath rolls are going to be all 5s and 6s.
Right. And they take 2.
Okay. So that brings them up to 11 so they're in the plink damage range, but because of Jeff's positioning and the way he's used his Flesh Rippers, there's not a lot of things that can do that plink damage.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how the scoring is done in this tournament, but I mean, I don't know if margin of victory is worth anything.
No, it's just, you just got to win by 1.
Yeah, and Alex is almost out of unit strength entirely.
Right. I mean, he's got 6 half-breeds, and so we got a total of 9, 10, 11, and then 14 with that guy.
And 3 units are wavered.
Yeah, 3 units are wavered, and 2 of them are just not even close.
Yeah, especially the one on the right. That those half-breeds can't do anything. That's
so Alex just lost all
it's
the wrenches.
just for half-breeds, and they aren't really going to be able to do anything this turn.
Mm-hmm. All right, I will be right back.
The Needle Fangs did a clutch job in shutting things down for like multiple turns, but also shutting down the plink shooting from the Decimators.
Yeah, I
Right.
wonder, Alex had to have forgotten that they fly. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Because they just shut down the whole game for the backline for that turn.
And on the last breath, he only does 2 hits. And
yeah, but that's still. I mean, it hasn't mattered. Nothing that got hit by last breath has been touched since. So it could have been.
The nice thing about Jeff's list is also that although he has, I would say butchers could be counted as hammers somewhat, although they're only hitting on 4s, right? But really, nothing in his army except for the Void Lurkers are more expensive really than 200 points.
Right.
And that's really nice in that sense. Like, it makes the last breath sort of like, you're not fighting a 300-point unit where 4 or 5 wounds would make a huge difference.
right, it's a ton of redundancy, which with an army like this, and it is just really key.
I like that about Night Stalkers. They do. You know, when you play a game and they kind of like something has an ability to win the game through another means than what all the other, let's say, factions could do. We were talking about Twilight Imperium earlier and how there's like different ways to win the game, or Blood Rage, and I think Night Stalkers are in a very interesting place in that sense that they have these interesting tools like. You know, Shannon's Windblast list is really cool. You know, all stealthy is really cool.
Yeah, there's so many different builds. Rob Allen, who I played a bunch on here, he plays. I think he has like 18 drops or something crazy like that, and I have a hard time with that playing goblins because of the stealthy and just I usually outdrop people by like 6 or 7, and I'm only outdropping him by 2. And up with a lot of flying, and it's just all redundancy, which I have a huge trouble with.
Didn't think about it. Night Stalkers are a really good counter for goblins, actually, right?
Yeah. I have they're especially if you take any sort of healing. That's just like my worst matchup is Night Stalkers. All right, so Alex is just. He's got a tall order ahead of him because pretty much there's not really anything that could do anything this turn, except for the half-breed champions, and hopefully you're pretty much just hoping for a good roll and taking off at least one of the butcher regiments or butcher hordes, because both of them have gone into the really wounded butcher hordes.
Yeah, the Slave Nightmares being wavered 2 turns in a row, basically chaffing up his own line is terrible.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's that next level of play where who needs your own chaff when you can use your opponent's units to chaff?
Yeah, right.
I would say so. I think Alex rolled sort of Jeff rolled sort of average when he charged him the first turn. We were sort of debating, is he going to get through or not? I think the odds were against him. He put enough wounds to waver, but I think the real mistake was not drowning it the second turn, but also not prepping his half-breeds to be able to charge anything next turn. Because like,
Right.
That's true.
That's really screwing Alex right now. He made big mistakes there, I think.
Yeah, although I wouldn't really call them mistakes as much as like I would have made that 10 times out of 10. Just when you play against somebody like Jeff Traish, you know that these little things are going to be exploited against you, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't have seen it, and that was even if I were sober. Thunder from down under. All right, let's see what he can do to.
It's time for the tables to be turned again.
I am just very.
Tables have turned.
Had you told me at the beginning of the game that it would be top of 5 and all 3 butcher hordes would be alive, I would have taken that bet all day. And here they are. They're all still alive. This is incredible.
Yeah. The 5 Fearless 18 is potent.
And stealthy.
Yeah. Just something between the half-breeds and the nightmares. Would have thought at least one of them would have been dead, but
yeah, this
looks
like
amazing.
This is a combat on the.
So did he name his Needlefangs War Pixies, or is that a special rule that I don't know? Because I tried looking it up.
It's what their keyword is, are Warp Pixies.
That's the keyword, okay.
That's what their keyword is.
They have a lot of keywords.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Oof.
At the points, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Because that stealthy makes them really survivable against that blink shooting.
Yeah, and it's just the thing with, I mean, I've only played Night Stalkers a couple handful times, and I would almost always take Phantom troops instead.
There goes one.
Yeah, so we got one. Yeah.
It's the other one. The other one he needed to get. He needed to get both of them.
Yeah, he needed to
get both of them and the third one somehow through some sort of magic. But I don't know. At least picking up the 1, getting that, and the Needle Fangs on that flank, got something to work with.
So they just didn't roll that flank and with the half breeds and just rolled Snake Eyes twice.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just a series of unfortunate events. The snakes on the Needle Fangs, the low explosions on the butchers was not helpful. And this is the first time it's mattered, because the one that was steady up there was one of the ones that only took 2 damage from the explosion.
Right.
That's unfortunate too. I think if he got a full 3, he might have gotten out of those butchers' charge range.
Yeah, instead now they're back in. They're gonna go in there.
Yeah.
And what's so good about this, one of the strengths that the Ogre army has enjoyed for so long is having nothing but scoring units. And you look at the Night Stalkers build that Jeff has made, and it's very similar to that game that he played against Alex Cuse, where his Ogre list was also full of scoring units. But even had this combat been going Alex's way, there's still a Portal of Despair, and at least the Spectres and maybe one other unit that is always scoring no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a
25
great
unit strength with 16 drops. So you have 16 scoring units.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have that many drops.
I don't either. I barely have that amount of unit strength on my herd list too.
Yeah.
I mean, you could build it in almost every army. You have the cheap units that could 80, 90, 100 points that you could use it for. But he's sort of using it in its. Can we call this thin shaft?
Yeah.
Sure. Thin shaft.
Skinny shaft.
The Needle Fangs, right?
Well, this is the difference between these top level players and us, is that we would be like, no, let's take the most expensive unit, let's put some items on it, and then we'll take a bunch of high point individuals. And next thing you know, you're like, yeah, why do I only have 12 drops in a 2,300 point list? And why when they die am I already losing games?
I think there's also it's opportunity costs, right? I mean, it's better to take 5 80-point units in this sense, the way he did it with Needle Fangs, than maybe taking, let's say, 2 individuals and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like you're stacking.
For toys.
Yeah. And it's not my favorite type list, if I'm honest with you. I like lists. I'm getting a lot of trouble for this recently too. I like lists that are a little bit. They have versatility in them, and different units that can do different things. Like, the way the unlock system right now works, it makes more sense to do this than trying to go for something that is what we would call like an old school list.
Yeah, I feel like every single time I look at one of Jeff's lists or these high level players, I'm like, I could beat that list. What are you taking 5 Needle Fangs? What are you? What kind of schmuck are you? And then I see it on the tabletop and see them play. I'm like, oh my god, you would be killing me right now.
Yeah, you're like, 7 out of 10 times I'm gonna lose against it. 8 out of 10 times.
One of the another high level Australian player, Taz Stacy. Again, he takes the one list that he takes Northern Alliance. I'm just like, what? It's like 5 troops of half elf berserkers and just a whole bunch of just eclectic stuff that I wouldn't necessarily see. But then you see it on the table and him use it. Yeah, okay. I'm just not nearly smart enough to play on his level.
Yes. If you took these lists, Steve, and you took the names off of them and like, hey guys, here's a bunch of lists, then we would be like, oh, who's this newbie taking 5 troops of like, oh, that's unfortunate. And then you see them play and you're like, oh no. Oh, what have I done? I am losing, and it's turn 3.
It's something that like. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's also the player, because I played. Well, actually, one of the last times I played Felix on UB, he took Taz Stacy's list, and he's like, I don't know how any of this works, and I had like boarded him by like turn 4 or 5. I was like, okay, you're just not we're just not. Neither of us are smart enough to grasp how the minutia of these lists work.
There's also another thing that happens in the UB, like translation from tabletop to UB, is that when you look at tabletop armies, it's rare that somebody would choose 3 hordes of butchers because he has to make 3 different hordes interesting now on the tabletop.
Right.
And I see, so that's what UB does a little bit too, is like it brings out the sort of like, I don't really have to build this in real life. I can throw something together that, maybe I wouldn't even want to ever get through painting. Because we all know what it's like, if it's much nicer to paint monsters really, right, when you have like 5 or 6 of them than rather than painting, let's say 40 dudes in infantry or something like that, and then you have to do 4 hordes. Have fun with that.
So in the game right now, the Flesh Rippers, Needle Fangs, everything is charging in. I don't think there's a single unit of Alex's that is not engaged. There is a potential. No, the half breeds. Yeah, there is.
The one half breed.
The one half breed. There is a potential for this game to be over this turn.
Yeah. It's. I mean, the Void Lurker into the. I don't know if you can't tell. Yeah, it is entered into the half breeds. I mean, that's not well. And then there's a. I didn't see the Flesh Ripper into the flank. Yeah, that's not looking good for.
Alex would really benefit from a double ones on those nightmares and the half breed surviving and being able to kill the Void Lurker.
Needing skill.
6 or 7 double 1 rolls here.
That's fine. That's good.
Across the board.
That's good. I think when Jeremy Duvall played against John Vanas, John was telling us from the Northeast that Jeremy had him cornered and rolled like 2 or 3 double ones on a turn, and the game swung. Everything that wasn't supposed to be live still was, and that can happen. All right.
So we're losing Decimator troop.
Decimators.
Dead. Yeah, and this is where those swarms really come into play because I believe all of them have Strider and they have hitting on 5s, but at least 12 to 15 attacks for some.
Right.
But they can do damage in the flank, and the fact that they're not hindered, always hitting on 5s most of the time with fly. Yeah, it's a great unit and a great unit type that I think opens up a lot of opportunities on the battlefields that people would otherwise just brush aside when they're making their lists.
So Jeff flubbed the roll with a Void Lurker on and only did 1 wound to the half breeds.
Wow.
So this is the Flesh Ripper. I guess it's Blade Slashing. Yep.
Ooh, only did 2. Wow, that's very big.
Yeah.
It's also the type unit that makes Breath Weapon on dragons desirable, Like I'm always like, oh, I'm going to spend the extra 15 points on the Rev King. Do I need it? And then you have these games where you go like, man, I'm facing defense 2 with stealthy. I wish I had a Breath Weapon right now, even though it still takes that penalty. But like, it doesn't waste the points you spend on the Lightning Bolt. Because imagine even if you had Lightning Bolt 10 against 5 regiments of Needle Fangs, you maybe can kill 1 per turn if you roll well. Maybe.
And I think that's where, we would look at the list and be like, who's taking a regiment of Spectres? But then you look at Jeff's and like, oh, yeah, that's why. Because if there's something that sneaks in at the end of the game on turn 6, he has a unit that can make a break test.
Right.
And just check the nerve. And
attacks on 5s, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
really nice.
that'll do a wound. Do 1 wound against anything.
And 18-inch range is really nice too in that sense.
Yeah.
Because late game, you don't need much more.
Okay, so he did kill them even with 3. Okay.
Yeah, they were up there.
Yeah. So the nightmares are dead. That is bad news for Alex.
Yeah, it looks pretty much.
I mean, they had 9 wounds on them. They had to go at this point, right? But
sure.
Yeah.
12 hits on 4s.
Is that against the half-breed
Wow.
champion?
That's
Half-breed
okay.
champion, yeah, but it was a pretty poor
Yeah, it's
game
only
control at the end.
We'll roll.
5
Sure.
points.
Yeah, the champion should grind that out,
Hopefully.
especially with the regen on him.
Oh, no.
No, that'll do.
Yep.
He killed
Yeah,
him?
4.
Oh no!
He's got the dread in there from the portal as well.
Judo chopped him.
The dread. Dread comes into play.
Dread in the Cloak of Death.
Way back when it was March and before COVID, I had challenged Alex Chaves at Keystone GT because we never played the last year that we had it, but we both brought dwarves, and I edged him out by 1 point for best dwarf player, and I think he got 4th and I got 3rd overall. So I grudged him because I've never played and I've always wanted to play Alex. So because of that, I had bought an entire bottle of Hendrick's gin, and then as soon as I knew that we weren't going to have it, man, that thing did not last long. But if you ever want to get Alex tipsy, apparently Hendrick's gin is the way to do it.
Man, that half-breed champion right now dying was a kick in the nuts.
Yeah, it really was.
That's just insult to injury.
Injury to injury.
Injury to injury, and puke on top of them.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
Long story short, had I had Hendrick's gin, that's what I would be pouring right now to drink.
That's what you're pouring. It's the time to get drinks, yeah. Especially because that unit had 11 wounds. Oh.
Yeah, this unit's gone as well. That's some serious damage coming in on it.
Yeah.
The 24 that was rolled.
I haven't played Alex since the beginning of 2nd edition. He came up to our game, the local game store, and this was like 2015 when 2nd edition first dropped, and he was actually still painting his dwarf army, and him and Mike Austin pointed at my dwarf army and said, "Hey, look, he's actually taking dwarves," because Alex was taking Brox and Rocks.
So that Void Lurker, is it positioned now because of the nightmares that used to be there? Is he going to be in the flank if he countercharges it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's something nice for Alex at least. I mean, that makes that charge not so great that he even took it.
Yeah, but at this point, if there's no, unless there's like attrition or something, at this point, you're just using the Void Lurker as a blocker. You're just saying like the last thing you have on the board is not going to be able to charge anything else but this.
Very true. It's not even a guarantee that he could go through it in one turn anyway in the flank.
Yeah.
So this would be Jeff versus who's the number 1 right now? Is that Charlie Davey from Australia?
Yeah, Charlie, because Charlie won against Jesse Bill Jiva or Bill Jiva, however you say his last name.
Last name. Jeff Jesse last name, I think is how you pronounce it.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I think Jesse had killed like 600 more points than Charlie did. And
he just won the scenario?
Just won the scenario. Because Jesse's playing goblins with, I think he's taking 4 regiments of pincer mobs. But they're really good, but they're only unit strength 2.
Right.
So strength, when you're trying to mash it up into the center, they're not that effective.
No, fairly hard to fit a lot of them in.
So interesting.
Being champ.
Alex has taken the. I don't think that the half breeds would have fit in the flank against the Void Lurker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looking at the width now.
So
I think too, thinking about, because with the Northern King scoring, wanting to get a as much attrition as you can, knowing that he's going to lose those Void Lurkers. Right. It's a lot easier to scoop that Flesh Ripper than it is a Void Lurker that's fresh.
Yeah.
So trying to take them would get you the most points, and that's his last scoring unit. So after that,
wow, that's a terrible roll.
That is not good. So just 9 out of 16. And then the Vicious doesn't hit.
I'll still get him though.
And it takes him off.
Good. All right, 7 twice. Go, Alex.
He regen 2 wounds back, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully taking out this butcher regiment. Butcher horde. Got 2.
2 hits or 2 wounds.
Yep.
Vicious is so good.
It really is.
Okay,
Especially-
and that takes them off. So a good turn for Alex in terms of getting a lot of attrition.
Right.
Just took off 110 points plus 210. So at least 320 in just one turn. Not bad for 2 units left, making the most out of them.
I really would have liked to see what would have happened had that half-breed regiment not taken that flank of that lurker. I think would have been sort of like a little bit of a different game, at least in the center.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
I
the blocked
totally
up,
agree, Rashad. Yeah.
and the blocked up half-breed regiment as well. Like that was just too hard to come back from.
We're actually at bottom of the 6. I forgot to.
These guys did play fast. Even
Yeah, they
though
really did.
Yeah.
in the 3rd hour, but
I feel a little cheated, guys. I had budgeted at least 3 beers, and I'm only on my second one because this game has been so quick.
speaking of, I'm gonna go get some to drink. Okay.
Way to be behind the times, Rashad. The game's almost over, and now you're drinking.
I'm getting more kombucha.
Now I'm gonna have to try that next time I go out to the West Coast and I get to hang out with Rashad. Try some kombucha.
They have it on the East Coast. I mean, it's an acquired taste. It kind of tastes like. I got a pineapple one, and it tasted like if you drink the pineapple juice out of the can, and it just has that really metallic tang to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not my thing.
I've had kombucha before, but I think drinking it with Rashad really makes the experience.
Well, yeah, because Rashad's just a treat.
Yes, he is. And I think that when the people playing come back, we should ask them mostly kombucha-related questions. That's what 90% of the conversation has been about tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a game.
Episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it's kombucha.
That's what the people need.
Yeah. And the handsomeness of Mike Austin. There's a lot of that.
That
too.
was in there. Mike Austin's handsome persona, and then we'll combine that with Michael Piercy's voice.
Oh, yeah. That's a total package.
That is right there. And let's put in, while we're at it, Mike Adkins' technical wherewithal and his charm and charisma.
Yeah.
I think you have the perfect human right there.
Yeah. And his Mike Atkins bank account.
Oh, that too. I mean, if we're gonna go all Mikes, let's put in Mike Rossi's keywords and phrases and
karate skills.
His karate skills. Yes, see, champion of karate.
Yeah.
You're making a Kings of War Mike Voltron.
Yeah, I was about to say this is the perfect King's War Mike Voltron.
This is Mike Vol. That's what came out of this. I don't know what's going on in this game right now, but I really want to create a Mike Voltron. Hopefully there'll be a Dash 28 article or a Countercharger Unplugged radio episode about Mike Voltron. And it could just end with Mike Piercy reading, "Good night, Moon. Good night, room. Good night, old lady," whispering, "Hush." We read that tonight to the daughter, so it's on my mind.
Yeah.
All right, we have a half-breeds that maybe are going to live. What are they on? 8 wounds?
Yeah, they need to take them off, it looks like.
Yeah.
And they are inspired.
Okay. So that'll be big. Mostly big for Jeff because with the scoring system, it's not about how many points that Alex loses.
Yeah, just once, twice.
Dead. Okay. Man, that dread has come into play so often.
Dread and the Cloak of Death combination is so strong.
Yeah.
I was talking a lot with Keith Randall, and we were both like, yeah, Frank has the higher nerve. He started to kill. He'll give chip damage, but then, clearly seeing the amount of Charlies and lists, Charlie would have been the way to go. The amount of combats that I've had that have ended with like, oh, I missed it by 1 or 2. Charlie would have fixed that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like widely considered to be such, but I think the Cloak of Death is one of the strongest rules of the game.
Oh yeah, by far.
I agree, Mike. But I also agree with you in saying that I don't think a lot of people have caught on to how strong it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you get it into a large based character or something that can really project that the 1 inch or the 1 damage.
Yeah, like Gorblights, they have a 50 mil base, and you can really.
Well, the thing with the Gorblight is you can make it take effect and then have surge units into the unit still, or being combat. It's very nice.
So
yeah,
the only unit that Alex has left is the Slave Driver.
And drain life on top of it? Fuck.
So
yeah, it is looking. Was that the roll for? Oh, yep.
Yeah,
so they are going to 7.
Taking out Charlie Kelly.
You can do a Slave Driver.
Is it one attack on a 4? 1 hit on a 4 vicious?
Just lying on the floor.
Oh, and he whiffs.
All right, since I'm getting so much shit for not having alcoholic damage.
Uh-oh, Alex. I'm so sorry, Rashad, that I drove you to drink tonight. But cheers, my friend.
You didn't drive me. It was the half-breed champion dying on the 7 and 8. I was like, I need to drink.
No, I want at least a little credit, but
You get
you can't see me right now, but cheers.
Sorry, it's a crappy Corona. That's all I had.
There's no shame.
Yeah,
Each beer has a purpose.
Yeah. The thing with Corona is you have to finish it in like a minute and a half, otherwise it tastes like this.
Yeah, it
As soon
tastes.
as it warms up.
It definitely tastes like.
I wish I had a lemon.
Kind of like that faster than the speed of light. Can you drink faster than the speed of taste? That is the secret to drinking
This
Corona.
speed of taste, I have to watch. I think I saw Spaceballs either on Amazon or on Netflix. I have to watch that because
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Rashad, but Jeff Traish has decided to end the game with both a roll of double 6s and then an 11.
oh shit!
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep, not pumping the brakes.
Tabling, yeah.
Yep.
It's a tabling. Anyway, continue, Rashad, because no one wants to miss out on a good Spaceballs reference.
It appears Alex is surrounded by assholes. Yeah.
Well done. All right. So do we have a list of the questions that we were going to ask? There was the flank charge. We were going to ask Jeff about why he didn't swing wide with the Void Lurker and the Butchers. Anything else that we wanted to ask him when they come back?
I'm definitely curious, as I am usually curious when I see Rat-Kin Slaves list, as to why this was not just a Rat-Kin list.
That's a really good point. Or why they didn't have the Chariot guy, the special character who gives all those kind of buffs, and the Pathfinder. Any questions, Steve, from the YouTube chat that we want to ask?
No, it was mostly Mike Austin.
About how handsome he is?
Yeah.
That's fair.
I'd
Or
like
Mike
to see
Austin and I would just reference that constantly, too.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Alex has to say about the turn, because there was a turn. There was a moment, I think up until turn 3, we were thinking that Alex is going to win this game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it turned. So, like, what was the turn for him? What does he think was the change?
I think it was all those needle fangs getting in to disrupt everything. Because as soon as Jeff broke through the lines Alex had nothing that was unengaged to engage them. And so all these butcher units that had 4 to 6, 8 wounds, just they lived because there's nothing to test nerve. That was really well played by Jeff too. He deployed his chaff at the exact right time. Wow. Yeah. So Rashad, as soon as this is over, how many episodes of Always Sunny are you going to binge watch? And people in the chat, can we come up with a list of really good our favorite episodes to come up with for Rashad?
You guys should add your top 10 episodes right away. And then, how many seasons is there actually in that show?
Like at least 10.
15.
Yeah, 15.
Wow, and it's probably more than 10 episodes per season, so I have a few things to watch, huh?
But you're going to be addicted. It's so good.
I've watched the first 12 seasons at least 5 times.
Yeah, wow, it's been a lot. Really good. If Michael says really... exactly.
The writing is it's clever.
You guys listen to this story. I never watched Breaking Bad, right? And then my friend tells me, "Hey, you gotta watch Breaking Bad. It's so good. It's so good. You gotta watch it." And I started watching it, and like after the 3rd episode, I realized that I accidentally started watching it in season 2, and it destroyed the whole show for me. I couldn't keep watching it. I was like, I'm done.
Hey, Alex, welcome back.
Hey. Didn't mean to interrupt you there. What show are you talking about?
We're talking about how Rashad started watching the 2nd season of Breaking Bad, and it ruined it, so he had to stop watching.
I didn't watch it from the 1st season. I started watching second season. So.
Oh man, 1st season's so good too.
I was like, why is she sick? What's going on? Like, why is nobody explaining to me what's happening here? Why is he doing these things?
What's going on?
Jeff, hopefully.
Maybe he conceded. I think we'd have to give the win to Alex then.
Yeah, that's not after that.
Here's Jeff. There's Jeff.
Yeah, I tried getting in before, but for some reason I could see and hear you guys, but I wasn't coming up.
Yeah, I'm having technical issues on my end. So, congratulations, Mr. Traish.
Thank you.
It's not something we see every day to see Alex Chaves get tabled.
Sure. No, he played a really good game. Honestly, I really liked the way style he played there. I think it's a good match to study from if you're like sort of playing that aggressive style.
Yeah.
I was sort of forced into it, but as I was saying to Alex, I didn't really have a choice. I just had to go for it or get slowly ground away. So, and then when I did go for it, a couple of good angles were open, and Alex didn't realize that the needle things flew as well.
Yeah,
so
that was one of our questions. Yeah, but and the other question for Alex is that I think it was turn 3 or 4. You had charged the when the Void Lurkers were side by side, you charged the one in the flank with the regiment of half breeds, and then you had charged the the half breed champ in there too,
right?
And didn't we were thinking what was the thought process behind that instead of sending the?
Because you could have grounded the one. You could have grounded the one that flew into the flank.
Yeah. I think it definitely a misplay on my end there. What happened is my head. I did want to make sure that I had enough wounds to kill that one, because even on the flank when I'm hindered like that, I rolled well above average. It should be a little bit closer. I should be doing, I think, maybe around like 12 wounds or so, or maybe a little less. So I felt like I really needed the extra wounds from the half breed there. And in my head, the other half breed was going to come ground the other one, and then I think I just kind of had other plans for him. So I wanted to kind of throw him into the way of other stuff. And then I kind of forgot that I wasn't grounding that guy. So I think I 100% should have grounded him. No question. I think my half breeds would have been in way better position there. And that turn, Jeff again did a really good play on that. So I kind of feel like that was the turning point of the game, was that turn. Yeah. So I was fine my play up until that turn. I think that's where I made the sort of pivotal mistake for sure.
Jeff, we had questions early on about with deployment. were you tempted to swing wide on the flanks and try to go around the woods? You eventually just ended up flying into the woods and getting some good charges, but what was your mentality about your deployment and whether you were going to try to flank him or not?
Right. Well, having a look at Alex's list, I always thought I have to go straight into the slaves, ground them down, kill them, hopefully don't take too many wounds, and then open up the back. And with the right-hand side, because he only had the one unit of half-breeds and the one champion, I was able to put pressure on them so they kept backing off, but I could get myself around to start attacking into the rear side, and I just used the needle things to cover me on the way up. So, yeah, I sort of play by ear more than have too many plans in play. I just sort of change as things change with it.
When
Jeff, your playing by
sorry.
ear is better than all of ours actually thinking and planning ahead.
When you charged the slave nightmares with the 2 void lurkers and one of them was hindered, what was your expectation there? Did you think, okay, I'm going to probably kill it, or were you okay with bouncing there? What was the thinking there? Because we were discussing it before you went in.
Yeah, I was hoping to kill it. On average, I was looking at about 10 wounds, so it definitely wasn't a guarantee there. But I thought if I don't kill it, if I can waver it, I'll end up in the same thing. But I think I got the waiver, but there was still just that little bit hanging out, which obviously, yeah, I wanted to kill it, but it didn't happen. So I thought I wasn't going to be in too bad a spot if I didn't. The thing was I had to stop the shooting. So I just hit all the shooting at once. And I was waiting until I got the slaves up to enough wounds so that I could kill them, hit the shooting at the same time, so that the wounded butchers wouldn't cop the shooting, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I could pour in after that.
We were sort of thinking, like round 3, the panel was sort of agreeing that Alex was in a really good spot up until
which is why we're at best a B-rated panel.
The needle fangs jumped over, and you got a few charges, and then all of a sudden, we expected those butcher hordes to be dead turn 405 because of all the blink shooting that Alex had, but you shut it down with the needle fangs, so that was nice to watch.
Yeah, that was well played on his part. That's what I kind of assumed too. I was like, oh, okay. I look at a horde of butchers on like 8 to 9 wounds. And I think, okay, I don't really need to worry about them anymore. Then I realized like he kind of shut down everything that would normally go after them, and I think I did want to send a half breed kind of in the direction, but he was just really like kind of locked down in a weird position. So
basically the void lookers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So again, full credit to Jeff played a fantastic game there, and I think I got a little bogged down with my units. I didn't quite layer as well as I should have. I think half breeds were a little bit out of position. I think and so I think the double charge of the void lurkers was fine on his part. I think even a waiver there is fine. I think if he didn't get a waiver, he might have been in trouble. That's where I would have said the game would have gone very poorly for him. But again, you can expect a waiver there. I mean, it's not too crazy a risk, I don't think, doing that.
Yeah. Well, I just thought if I don't go for it, I am going to lose the game without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to get shot or wound or worn down. So I didn't have a choice, as I said. So it's not all brilliant play. It was partly through desperation that I did what I did.
Well, glad you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you very much for letting us comment on your game. You guys played, like we said before, it was a clinic, of both with Alex being able to stagger and layer his lines between, like the rest of us would have just put our fast cavalry up front, and the way that you had the wretches and then shooting and then cavalry at the end. And Jeff, the way that you played the large infantry characters with the nimble and all the chaff being able to, I mean, how many times did those needle fangs get a front charge? Like most of the time they were at the flanks. Like there was a lot of really good moves played. So thank you guys for giving us a very entertaining and tactical game to watch, because that was great.
We knew it wasn't going to disappoint.
No, not at all.
Alex, thorough gentleman, so great to play against him.
Yeah, I hope we play again.
Yeah.
I was supposed to play him against Keystone, but then we had some kind of pandemic or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
I had to
shit.
drink all that gin myself.
Yeah, I think
Much
Keith,
to
me
the
and Keith
chagrin.
are we're playing next tournament we actually play. We're gonna have to play, right?
It's gonna be good. There'll be gin
Absolutely.
all around, much to the detriment of everyone around us. But yes, we will be
Exactly.
drinking a lot of gin. So cheers, guys. You can't
Yeah.
see me right now,
All
but
right.
I'm raising my glass, and thank you for a wonderful game, everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you for everyone that watched. Again, congratulations to Jeff for a well-fought victory, and thank you to both players for letting us watch. And hopefully, we didn't make too much big of asses of ourselves. So,
You're gonna have to watch this back now.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Give it
So-
a day. Let us sober up.
So, unless anyone has anything else to say, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you to my illustrious co-hosts, Michael, the voice, Michael Percy, Face, Rashad Navidi, Keith, our BA Brackus, and myself, Steve.
Dr.
Corson.
Evil.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Take care,
All right, guys.
everyone. Have a
Take
good night.
care.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Good
See
night.
ya.
See ya.
Where's the cat?
He's gone.